On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, what some people consider the best week of college basketball. Yes, I said that. If you can believe it. Some people do believe that championship week, that this power conference tournament week is better than the first week of March Madness. I don't know if I can go that far, but it is awesome. God, it's awesome to have basketball on all day, every day. We are here. It is officially, a lot of you listening to this, the power conference tournaments have already started. And are underway, and that's what's happening, and we're here. So we're going to continue to do our power conference tournament previews. On Monday's show, we had Big 12, we had SEC, and we had, who else did we have, TJ? Remind me. Big 12, SEC. ACC. I'll pick up. On Monday, we had Big 12. We had ACC with Mike Rutherford. We had SEC with Brandon Walker. Today, we have John Fanta, a good friend of mine, a friend of everybody's, really, but he's the man. John Fanta on the Big East. He was in studio. He's here for the Big East tournament here in New York. Stopped by, had a fun conversation. He's so full of energy. This man loves the Big East tournament. And he shared his enthusiasm with us, and it was a really fun interview. Wright is joining us to talk about the Big Ten. If you follow him on Twitter, you know that he's a great resource for Big Ten basketball. If you don't know who Ant is, I'm excited to introduce the world to him because I love following his content. I think he's super smart about basketball, and especially Big Ten basketball. So fun conversation with him. And then Josiah Johnson and Zach Schwartz, two guys that I've known forever, that do a show together on the internet and are both Pac12 guys. I worked with Zach at the Ringer, and he's become a good friend of mine, but that's an aside thing. They're fun. It's going to be a fun interview talking to those guys about Pac12 basketball and whether they even give a damn about the conference that's slowly dissolving before our very eyes. But that's it. We're going to preview those three tournaments, get done with these conference tourney previews, get excited about that. Also going to do a little bubble watch with TJ because last show, which was the first show that we did, obviously, we were going to talk about Rutgers a little bit because Rutgers was playing Northwestern later that night. Then we ultimately decided we have enough to talk about. The first show clocked in at 2.5 hours. So we're like, you know what? We'll punt on that. We'll wait till Wednesday's show to talk about how Rutgers beat Northwestern. That didn't actually happen. Whoops. The freaking arena caught on fire. What the hell is happening with Rutgers basketball right now? They're trying to steal wins away from Ohio State, so I got to talk to TJ about that. Very fun show. This is the best time of year. I'm excited for the show we have today. Let's get to it. All right, John Fanta, Ant Wright, Josiah Johnson, Zach Schwartz, loaded show coming up. Before we get to all those interviews, we got to talk about what the hell's going on with Rutgers. By the way, after the interviews to end the show, I decided I'm going to fill out brackets live. I'm going to fill out all the we're previewing all these conference tournaments. I've been staring at these brackets. I've been talking about these tournaments. I just have the itch. I just want to start filling brackets out, and I'm going to rip through them really quick because it's probably going to make for terrible radio. I understand that for people listening when you're like, oh, in the 10-7 game, I got them advancing, and then I got the if you listening aren't actually looking at the bracket, maybe it'll make for terrible listening. I don't know, but I'm going to put it out there anyway, and we'll rip through my bracket picks for all 6 of these tournaments that we've been talking about at the end of the show. But for now, we have to talk about Rutgers, who, TJ and I think we said this in the first show, we met about a month ago now, and less than that, for the first time. We had some good rapport, I would say. I would say that we hit it off pretty well, and I based that off of when I was at the Barstool House in Arizona, and there's 4,000 people around, and it's just chaos going on. And I don't actually work there yet. I haven't signed a contract. Some people know that I'm about to, other people don't. And I just sort of feel like the new kid at the lunch table that's just holding his tray and is where do I sit? I found myself just naturally gravitating to TJ, and I felt like that was a good sign. Yeah. That when it came time to pick where I was going to, and at this point, I didn't even know you're going to be my producer of my show.
Same.
I was just that guy seems warm and welcoming. Thanks. I'm going to go sit by him. So I sat down next to you. We started talking. I've gotten to know you a little bit better. And the whole reason of telling that backstory is that through this building of chemistry that I'm trying to establish here, which is really why I'm in New York this whole month, is I want to do these shows in person. I want to get this thing going. through all of this, I've said, you know what would be great for the show is if I get behind Rutgers, because Rutgers is on the bubble. My team sucks ass. The Buckeyes, very frustrating. We're not making the tournament unless we win 5 games in a row here. We're not going to. So I'm like, you know what? Done with the Buckeyes. I'm going to throw all my weight behind TJ and Rutgers. We're going to get them into the tournament. That can be the fun little subplot of the show as we're covering the tournament. At least one of us has a team to cheer for, all that sort of thing. And then this morning, you point out to me that Rutgers is trying to steal the win, our win, Ohio State's win. We only have 13 of them.
Right.
And you're trying to rob the poor and take a win because you're so desperate to have an NCAA tournament resume. What the fuck, dude?
I'm super desperate, so I'm fully on board with it.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, well, you guys cheated to beat us in December, so it's an appropriate time to bring that back up, and the NCAA seems to oblige. So,
first of all, there's no way that that's true. Who was the source? Who tweeted
Aaron
this?
Brightman. He runs his own stuff now, but he used to be.
I don't believe him for a second. He said he basically said, like, per a source, the NCAA selection committee is going to actually count Rutgers' loss at Ohio State as a win.
They said that
because Ohio State
considered
cheated
in their resume.
Because this is the first time in the history of college basketball that the refs blew a call and it affected the game. So apparently, it's ridiculous. We have 13 wins and you're trying to take one from us. I just don't understand. Yeah. So all right, well, I mean, I guess like. It just didn't sit well. Why does it have to be Ohio State? Like, if it would have been any other, like, because I feel like from a karmic perspective, we already paid for that. You know, basically after that shot, nothing else has gone right for us all season.
Right.
So, like the gods have come back and punished us.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to now lose the win.
Historically, we're usually the ones getting screwed over in some sort of never before seen way, so this is big for us.
That's why I'm upset
that they're on our side a little bit.
As an Ohio State fan, I'm not used to the Big Ten Conference stepping in and saying,
not favoring.
we're gonna screw Ohio State to favor Rutgers, and I'm like, whoa, what? That's not how this is supposed to work.
We need it. I don't know what's happened. I think since we met, they've won 3 games and lost like 8.
Yeah. It's a Titus curse. That's what's going on. I think I curse my co-hosts and my producers and everyone in my realm. Just like when it's something I do. It's something I've tried to work on. I've gone to therapy over it, and I've tried to ask my therapist, like, how can I be a better friend? And he's like, I have no answers for you.
Right.
You're just destined to curse your friends. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, Rutgers. Do you have a statement on the arena setting on fire? Like, what the hell is that? What like is that? What's the better representation of the current situation, the current state of the program? Rutgers arena setting on fire, or the Louisville Dog taking a shit on the court?
They're pretty similar, yeah. Because it's like
the symbolism's perfect.
Like Louisville is shit, but Rutgers is like we're burning down.
Yeah,
we're watching our tournament chances waving in front of us on fire. Like, hey, put this out. But we'll definitely beat Hunter in Michigan on Thursday.
Do you? That's got to be a loser leaves town match, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about hedging my happiness. We'll talk about it in the bracket segment. I think I'm gonna bet on Michigan to win the Big Ten tournament. That way, I either lose. It's a win-win. I either win the game or I win my bet.
I might back you in that.
Yeah.
I might do the same thing because I'm thinking like this Ohio State season is a loss. I've already processed it. We've already moved on. We're on to football season. Actually, I'm on to baseball season. I gotta look up the Buckeye baseball team. I don't know how good we are, but I'm sure as soon as I look up that we're not in the top 10, I'm gonna be like, all right, well, cool. We're on to football season. So my mind is on trying to figure out if we're gonna beat Notre Dame in football. When we have to play them at their place, you know, like that's where my mind is at with Buckeye sports right now. So as the Big Ten tournament's getting underway, maybe that's what I need to do with you. Because like the only way that this can get worse for me is if Michigan does go on the run and win the Big Ten tournament and get into the tournament when they shouldn't be in at all.
Right.
And I have to see Hunter Dickinson's stupid face on my television for another couple weeks. No, I can't. We can't have that happen. So. Let's bet on them to win, so that way when it does happen, at least we're a little bit richer. Yeah,
had your happiness.
Yeah.
Why be sad and bro?
That's okay. Your dad's a reply guy, huh?
Yeah,
he's mixing it up in the replies. Yeah,
he's the biggest Barstool fan over the age of 65. I think he's got to be one of the only ones that are actively on Twitter. But yeah, he's very much in the mix.
I love that. Is he gonna? Is he like start shit? Like if I is he gonna listen to me talk about how I think it's bullshit that Rutgers is trying to take a win from Ohio State? And am I gonna like wake up tomorrow to like a text thread,
a DM,
parentheses like 1/7, and here's the first tweet, and then there's
as he's gotten to know especially Big Cat and Brandon better, and then they've met in person a couple times.
Yeah,
he's like started to go more towards the trolling side. For the most part, it'll all be positive.
Big Cat and Brandon are both way bigger. I mean, I am a troll, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not, but I feel like they're worse than I am. They're like way more extreme about it than I am.
They're also like my work dads, so my real dad has to like compete with them for screen time.
The difference between me and those, like I love to troll, obviously, but if I genuinely, I have like a line where, like if Rutgers is playing for a national championship, say, I will 10 million% back Rutgers for you because like that's no longer funny, and it's like it's time to like get serious and lock in here and be a good friend. They go the opposite way. Like as the stakes get higher to both of them, they troll even harder.
Yes.
With me, it's like the stakes get to a certain point. I'm like, all right, we have to get. It's no longer funny. It's time to lock in and be serious here, and I want you to be happy. But I'm just a better person than them. Maybe that's what it really comes down to.
Midwest nice.
Maybe I'm just nicer.
Brandon's a Southern asshole.
Like I'll tease you if Rutgers loses to Minnesota in a regular season game, then I'll troll you, But then, like, as Rutgers is squandering your NCAA tournament berth, I'm like, oh, geez, I can't. I'm not gonna watch the Big Ten tournament with you and like, rip on you if you lose to Michigan.
You saw it where as they were losing to Minnesota, Big Cat put me and you in a text chain together to ask you what the Big Ten scores were.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
That's me.
Yes, he did. Rutgers is you guys are fine. You just got to beat Michigan. Michigan lost to Indiana. Wisconsin winning against Minnesota. I feel like one of those three is getting in, and maybe the other two aren't. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe 2 out of the 3. Not all 3. Wisconsin, Rutgers, and Michigan can't all make it, can they? I don't think so.
Dayton would be quite fun if that was.
That would be kind of fun.
They put 3 of us.
We did. It did hit us at imagine if like the 2 power conference playing games were involving Michigan. I guess they wouldn't do that with. Would they do that with 2 Big Ten? They can't have 3 Big Ten teams. I guess you could. Like if it is
last year.
If it's how it shakes out, it's how it shakes out. If you had Dan's Wisconsin Badgers, Dave's Michigan Wolverines, Brandon's Mississippi State Bulldogs, and your Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
The Big Four.
Those were the 4 in Dayton, and we were there for it.
I don't know. Yeah, one of us would not leave like in the same condition that they got there in.
All right. Well, good luck to Rutgers. I think I do want Ohio State to beat Wisconsin though. I think I need that. I think like me stepping into this company, and now we're doing a live stream. Those of you listening, we're putting this show out on Wednesday morning. So Wednesday night, Ohio State versus Wisconsin. Dan and I are gonna live stream the game. And I don't want. I'm not like as much as I've given up on Ohio State. I don't want my first like experience where I'm on camera watching my alma mater play. I do want to win that. I do want to win that. So I want to. I'm talking myself back into caring, TJ, and that's not what you want to do when your team has a 13 next to its name in a bracket. That's not where you want to find yourself.
I've done more with less. So.
All right, let's get to some interviews. John Fanta on the Big East. We got Ant Wright on the Big Ten. We're gonna throw them back to back. Great interviews, great dudes. And I'm gonna say this too. Like I didn't plan on doing a little housekeeping statement here before we throw it to them, but I do want the show to be a diverse range of guests. I want people that I don't know if I said this on the first show when I was kind of talking about what I wanted the show to be. I want guests that are super smart and like no ball at a level that like Ant Wright is going to be a great example. You guys are going to listen to Ant. You're going to be like, this guy he knows everything about. I mean, John Fanta's the same way. I want the wide range. So that's what we're trying to do with the show, and I think it's fun. I think this is a great episode because I think all the guests we have are a smorgasbord. No matter what you're into with how you want to talk about this stuff, I think we check the boxes. So these are some fun interviews coming up. John Fanta on the Big East, Ant Wright on the Big Ten. Here you go. All right, his name is John Fanta. He is a Fox Sports broadcaster. He is a Field of 68 contributor. He hosts the Big East Shoot-Around, correct?
That's right.
What other jobs do you have?
Taking out the garbage.
He
for
takes
the
out
fiancé.
the garbage
Not
for his
bad at
fiance, and he's an all-around great dude. And he's become a friend of mine. He's become a friend of anybody that watches college basketball and loves college basketball. And he's joining me in studio, by the way. For those of you that are listening on the podcast feed, John is sitting right across from me. We are 2 or 3 blocks away from Madison Square Garden. Tomorrow, the Big East tournament starts. This man loves the Big East tournament more than I've ever loved anything in my life. John, the floor is yours. Why are you so jovial this week? Like you just become like I've never seen anybody so happy as you when the Big East tournament rolls around.
I will never forget, Titus, walking into Madison Square Garden for the first time in 2014. I went to Seton Hall. It's where I did my undergrad, over in Little South Orange, New Jersey. And my freshman year at Seton Hall was the first year of the reconfigured Big East. So while everybody was walking in the Garden that week saying, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not
yeah,
the same.
Yeah.
I was like, this is all I've ever known.
Yeah.
And I kind of ran with that. I'm like, hey, this Big East ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This Big East might actually be pretty good. And there is a pageantry about the world's most famous arena during Big East tournament week where the security guards know your name.
Yeah.
They know the coaches for the most part. There's one coach that they had problems with a couple years ago, identifying him when he was walking in the building.
Who was it?
One Patrick Ewing. Remember that?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. I
yeah.
forgot about that
Epic
story.
Big East story.
About that story.
Epic Big East story. However, like it's just got a level to it. There's that Garden roar. Now with UConn coming back to the league, you feel that roar.
Yeah.
But it's like Jim Calhoun always said. The Big East tournament is the neighborhood block party.
Yeah.
And if you look at your block, you want your house, your Christmas lights, your lawn to be the best damn stuff in the world. You're locked up in your neighborhood. That is your own world if you're that dad. The Big East tournament is a dad's tournament. It is. It's
a funny way to put it. You're not wrong. It is a dad's tournament. It's a tournament that, every father in this country would have thoughts on, like have memories and have, There's something about it being in Madison Square Garden at a time when all these conferences are trying to create new footprints and the Big Ten is now coast to coast and we're the Big Ten. We all know in a couple years they're probably going to have the Big Ten tournament in LA. That hasn't been announced, but come on, we all see it coming. That's going to probably happen. And the Big Ten had the tournament in Madison Square Garden, and all these things are bouncing around. There's something awesome about the Big East tournament. It's the one conference you never have to look up where the Big East tournament is taking place. You know where it's at every single year.
Now, people plan this out on their calendar. They plan it on their calendar, and the Garden looks forward to this event. What the Big East and MSG have developed is special. And the Big East, when it reconfigured, it held on to 2 things. Number one, its name.
Mm-hmm.
So to the consumer or customer that still thinks of the Big East and thinks of basketball, hanging on to the name while other leagues, the American.
Right.
The Big East hanging on to its name was huge. And then to hang on to your name, you got to hang on to the building you're in.
Yeah.
And the Big East has held on to Madison Square Garden for 41 consecutive years. You think of the acts that have been in MSG, the stuff that's gone away from MSG, that's come in, that's been big enough. The Big East has had a staying power because Connecticut, Providence, Philadelphia for Villanova. And look, that's a big storyline here. Villanova has been to 6 of the last 7 Big East tournament championship games. It's been the Villanova Invitational, but those fans come out and they make it what it is, and the Garden will be roaring here this week. There's something about being the best on your block, even more so than what happens at the national tournament, because you're going to see these coaches in the spring. You're going to golf with them, and you could talk trash.
I've been to a lot of the power. I haven't been to all of them. I don't know if I've been to the SEC one, but I think I've been to every other one. Maybe ACC. I've never been to the ACC. So whatever. But I've been to a handful. The Big East is by far the best. It deserves its reputation as the best environment and the best, the loudest crowd. You said the Garden roar. It's not even close. It's not even. I should say we had Fran Fraschilla on Monday. I told him that the Big 12 was my favorite one to go to, but then I also conceded it's just because I like barbecue more than I like New York City, I think. And so when I'm in Kansas City, I just like hammering the barbecue. But if you're a fan of all these teams, obviously you can't beat this. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this Big East tournament that's starting tomorrow. Broad view on the conference right now. The Big 12, I think you would agree, was obviously the best conference in the country this year. You'd have to be out of your mind to say that like the Big East was better, I guess. But to me, the Big East was somehow more fun. Like when I was watching games this year, I knew if I threw on a Big East game, I was probably going to enjoy what I was watching. Where sometimes with these Big 12 teams, like it depended on the matchups and but like for some reason, every single Big East game, whether I was watching two of the best teams in the country or not, that game was fun. Is there something inherent about the conference? Is it a coincidence that this year, why is it that Big East basketball to me is the most fun brand of basketball right now?
Yeah, I mean, even DePaul provides fun in the ways that you never thought you'd watch college basketball. Right. There's things that you see in a DePaul game that you say, what just happened? Yeah. Because the ball's flying all over the court. And DePaul and St. John's played a double overtime game in the regular season. Like,
St. John's is a great example of like St. John's, quote unquote, not a good team. They're so fun to watch. They have the fastest tempo in the country. They have talent.
St. John's is your crazy uncle.
Yeah.
They're past their prime, but you love having them at holiday gatherings because they got stories for days.
Yeah, right.
Who know? And you get the liquor out.
Yeah, right.
Hold on. That's what I think of with the Red Storm. Now, the Big East this year has been entertaining because of a couple of things. In my opinion, you've got a mix of some longtime coaches. So Ed Cooley at Providence, whose kids are always going to play hard. They've been on a little bit of a slump, but his team's going to be ready for UConn Thursday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern time. Madison Square Garden is going to be on fire for the first Friars-UConn meeting since 1998. You got McDermott at Creighton. Greg McDermott just schemes, and he's got balance. They play a style that you can actually enjoy watching, which, by the way, that's it. The Big East has had a blend of old with new coaches at spots. Shaka Smart has reinvented Marquette.
He's reinvented like his whole career. He's reinvented his scalp. He's reinvented.
That's true. He has.
He's reinvented everything.
He's found the best version of himself in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I think it's a cross between VCU and Texas.
Yeah.
And it fits. It fits really well. Along the same lines, Sean Miller took the year away, did some media stuff, but watched a lot of film and looked at how he could develop offensive concepts. And with Sule Boom, they're fun.
It blows my mind that Sean Miller is the coach of that team because I've been conditioned through watching years and years of Sean Miller basketball to just see like dinosaurs like setting screens and like slow the ball like coming to a halt and grinding. You know, some of those Arizona teams had it's a polar opposite of what his Arizona teams were, which was loaded with 5-star recruits that were then playing like old school type basketball with like he would love to throw like 2 7-footers out there that like neither one of them could shoot and just figure it out. And now it's the exact opposite. And it's like he's an offensive genius somehow, or like the ball's just hopping around. And Sule Boom does help. I mean, having a guy like that running the show. But yeah, it's like if you watch Sean Miller coach at Arizona, you watch him coach at Xavier, you'd say there's no way this could be the same guy.
If he stays around at Xavier, here's a take. It would not surprise me if in 3 to 4 years, by virtue of the conference that they're in, you can rack up wins. They have lots of resources at Xavier. Like, if we woke up one day and saw Xavier at number 1 in the AP poll 3 or 4 years from now, it wouldn't shock me because the place recruits itself. They get recruits. Travis Steele was getting kids.
Yeah.
Look at, these are his kids.
Yeah.
It's just now they've got a scheme guy in Sean Miller who's just, he's totally reinvented the way he does things. So you have really good coaches in the league. You've got a mix of the new with the old. And I think that there's a dynamic to this league this year where, because Villanova lost the Hall of Famer in Jay Wright, it opened up the door and nobody feels sorry for Nova.
Yeah.
But now Nova's all of a sudden coming on here.
We got to
like
talk about
a counted out thoroughbred down the track.
We got to talk about Villanova because the moment the Big East bracket comes out, I looked at it and my very first thought was Villanova has a path. And I texted you this, John. I would, in all fairness, I'll tap my chest and I will say, if Villanova had gone 0-20 in the league this year, and if they were the 11 seed, I still would have looked at the bracket and said Villanova has a path. So take that with a grain of salt. But you're right. It's the Villanova Invitational. And there's like something about not only the name on the front of the jersey, but like you look at the names on the back of these guys at Villanova, they're good. I don't understand what happened with Villanova this year. Obviously injuries, obviously new coach. But if someone listening is like trying to talk themselves into Villanova actually legitimately having a path, are they crazy? They're not crazy.
No, you're probably you are crazy, but for other reasons.
Yeah.
Not this one. Here's why. So for me, there's two things here with Villanova. Number one is, yes, they have a path. Why? Because Eric Dixon has been a matchup nightmare for Ryan Kalkbrenner. He went for 31 when the two teams met about 12 days ago in Philadelphia, and Villanova commanded Creighton. Villanova should have won at Creighton. They were right there. It was a primetime game on a Saturday night. Gus was in form, and Villanova just fell short because going to Omaha, it's good for like 5 to 7 or 8 points and some red meat. But I think that Villanova has a stabilizing force in Justin Moore, who has steadily gotten better and better since he's come off the Achilles injury. And therefore, it's alleviated the pressure off of a guy like Cam Whitmore, who's now playing like a winner. He's now a winning player because he's playing with a guy who's been to national championships or been around that type of scene. And it elevates Caleb Daniels. It elevates Eric Dixon. I got to tell you, Brandon Slater's got to have a good week for this team to go on a run. But for me, Villanova has an effect too, Titus, in that not just are they playing well, they've won 6 of 8, but they give the entire rest of the Big East PTSD.
Exactly. There's something to that. That's what I said. The name on the front of the jersey, I think in these situations does matter. I think there are times. I mean, I last night, if you were watching Furman and Chattanooga playing, like that was the narrative the entire game as I'm watching the SoCon championship, is last year when Furman and Chattanooga played, Chattanooga hits the shot at the buzzer to send Furman out and you know, in the championship game. And every second last night was just like, Furman's the better team, but do they have these scars from last year playing Chattanooga in this spot? And the answer is probably, yeah. And like the game was closer last night than it should have been. There's something to that. There is something to like all these teams seeing Villanova, seeing Justin Moore, seeing familiar.
Because if it's a 5-point game at the Garden with 2.5 minutes to go at the Big East tournament, who are you taking? You're probably going to take Villanova because they figured out ways to win. I liken it. We've done a lot of family references, but the Big East is sort of the family tournament because it's a tradition. It's a tale as old as time. You said it earlier, in the current climate of college sports, the Big East is a thing you can keep coming back to if you're a basketball junkie. Villanova, okay, there's what I liken it to. Villanova is like that relative, okay? We've all had that aunt or uncle. I've certainly had it here. I'm going to open it up to America here. You've had that aunt or uncle who, when you're 12 years old and you go into the refrigerator, you're at their house, and you go in for an extra pastry or an extra drink, they say, hey, lay off. That sucks to hear. We've heard it, okay? You've heard it. Yes. Lay off. So then that affects you mentally with that relative for years.
For those of you listening, by the way, this is the part of the show where John just pivoted to TJ. Now they're locked in, like talking.
We're locked in. We might. You're actually.
They have kindred spirit.
If you need to take a 5 to 10 minute break, we could take this.
I got a couple of relatives' faces in mind right now.
Yeah, right. So then that affects you every other time you see them because you know it's in their head, and they shared it with you. So they're the relative then. Like 10, 12 years later, they might be older and they regret saying that, and all they want to do is see you at their house, but you're not sure if you want to walk in the door or not. That's Villanova.
It's a very specific analogy, but I love it.
That's Villanova. Villanova is that relative who has scared you and beaten you.
Yeah.
They have beaten you.
Yeah.
And now you don't know if you want to go back in their house for dinner, because if you sit down and they beat you again, you are now scarred for life.
Yes. I think Villanova, so my take on what Kyle Neptune needs to do is he needs to follow the Hubert Davis model of last year, where Hubert Davis, by about this point in the season, he just pushed the button where he's like, I have 5 guys I trust. I'm not sure how much I trust the other guys, so I'm just going to run these 5 guys into the ground. And Justin Moore coming off an Achilles tear, I don't know if this is the best idea, but this is probably what I would do. He's kind of like hinted at it. Like he's kind of, if you true serum Kyle Neptune, you're like, listen, if you can get away with it and you're not going to your bench at all, you're not playing anybody, would you do it? He's like, I think he would say, absolutely, I would love to, but I feel like I'm supposed to play these other guys. What do you think, John? I think he just needs to go all in on the starting 5, because they're good, but they're going to get tired.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The only guy that I would give a shot to really is Mark Armstrong, because he's got some ability. Kyle Neptune's got to go all in. I'm with you. You don't want to be playing Chris Arcidiacono in a key spot. Villanova's got to play their starting 5 here and ride them.
They all 5 have to play like 35 plus minutes, I think,
except for Wednesday night when they take on
except
Georgetown.
For Georgetown.
Actually, minutes management of that game is very important.
That will be important.
Like even if you beat Georgetown by 8, you know you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah,
you're going to win the game.
Yeah.
But you don't empty the load in that game. Be ready for Thursday night at 9:30. Now, I actually think, people are like, oh, conference tournaments, why does a team have to play late at night, then they play the next day? Well, the Big East actually moved things up here. So the 8-9 game is at 3 o'clock on Wednesday.
Okay.
That's new this year.
Okay.
And then the 7-10 is at 5:30.
Yep.
So, the 8 and the 7 or whoever it's going to be, don't tell me that they're going to be worn out the next day. It's not like they have to play at 7 and 9:30.
Right.
That's what it used to be. And then the 6-11, you play at 8 o'clock, but then you don't play the next night until around 9:45. So you're going to get
this
recovery
man, by
time.
the way, is not looking at a bracket. John is just ripping this off the dome. He knows every tip time and on every day and every matchup. This is incredible. This is insane.
We give you the whole rundown.
I'm literally staring at the bracket. And I can't. It takes me a second to get all the
folks. The quarterfinal Thursday has a chance to be better than any New York pizza you could get around town. Okay. The only thing that might be on par is, pardon my cheesesteak, which check it out this week in New York City.
Look at this guy.
But high noon Thursday. Marquette St. John's. 2:30, Providence.
Whoa. Butler. What do you mean Marquette St. John's?
If Butler can beat St.
My
John's.
beloved Butler Bulldogs.
Maybe Thad has magic. Okay. All right. I'll back
Are you
off.
saying, if I will agree with you that you're going to like how I just said I will agree with you. You never even said this. I'm just saying I will agree with you. That John Diebler should be fired if Butler loses to St. John's. I will agree with you, John. You told me that off air. You said I think John Diebler should be fired from Butler's staff if Butler does not beat St. John's. And I just want to back you up on that take.
If Butler does not beat St. John's,
heads have to roll, and I think you start with John Diebler.
The theater to Wednesday of the Big East tournament is the game ends, and John Diebler goes out to half court, and he has to make a half court shot to retain his job.
Yeah, I love it.
And we're all sitting there.
And you know what? Knowing that son of a bitch, he'd probably make it.
Oh,
he
would drill it.
Yeah.
He'd give you the middle finger,
yeah.
and he'd walk into the tunnel.
That's exactly
and that'd
what
be
would
it. Because John Diebler, also one of the nicest guys in the world.
He's nice. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just don't John. Nobody show John this.
So Thursday at the tournament,
it
could be Marquette and either St. John's.
You can say St. John's. That's
all right.
fine.
I'm just going to give you the rundown.
Just go by chalk.
Is
this
tasty?
Yeah.
Marquette St. John's at noon.
Yep.
2:30. Connecticut Providence. The beer will be flowing. There's no guarantee on if fists aren't going to be flying. It's going to happen. 7 o'clock. You got Xavier Seton Hall. Remember, just over a week ago, Shaheen Holloway and Sean Miller didn't shake hands.
That's right.
There's some bad blood there.
That's right.
And then at 9:30, it's Villanova Creighton. Are you kidding me? For 12 hours of basketball at Madison Square Garden?
You can't beat it.
Just roll out Joel in between.
Have
him continue his sellout streak.
That's why people think this week is. Some people think this week is better than the first week of March Madness because of days like that. I mean, you have that going on, but then all these other conference tournaments going on with it. I know.
I disagree with
you
that.
Can't. I don't know.
I love I need Oral Roberts and St. Peter's in my life. I still need those. You need because the conference tournaments are awesome. They are. They're awesome. And there's no better appetizer, but there's nothing better than the pure joy of the 14 or 15 winning that game.
Yeah.
It's awesome. We all feel the same joy, unless, of course, you lost a wager. But it's when Abilene Christian beats Texas, there's no other sport where that happens.
Yeah.
None. Nowhere. It's why college basketball is the best.
Marquette fans are going to kill us. I don't know how long we've been talking here. We haven't even mentioned really the Big East champion, the 1 seed, the team that would they go last year? I wrote it down. They went 19-13 last year. They lost by 32 points in the first round of the NCAA tournament, John. They lost their top 2 scorers in Justin Lewis and Daryl Morcell. They basically brought in nobody else. And they won the Big East. And not only did they win the Big East, they're ranked 6th in the country. Tyler Kolek is probably the best point guard in the country. He's one of the 5 Cousy Award finalists, at least. If it's not him, Jalen Pickett. But I think he's one of the 2 or 3. I mean, he doesn't need to be top 5. Maybe the best point guard in the country. How did this happen? How did Shaka, you mentioned earlier, I guess, that Shaka has rejuvenated everything. But it's not like they brought in a 5-star guy who's carrying them. It's not like he hit the transfer portal hard. It's like addition by subtraction, I guess.
They went on a preseason retreat somewhere in the Midwest in October, and they hashed things out. It's according
What
to
does that
Shaka.
mean? What do they do? How do you just play capture the flag at like a log cabin on a lake house somewhere in Wisconsin? Like
It might have gone. Yeah, so I imagine it's some sort of a retreat house.
Sitting around the campfire making s'mores and
yeah. Throw out some chafing dishes in the corner for anyone who wants to eat, and let's talk things out. Let's do some role definition here. I mean, I think that's what it was. Maybe write some letters. I think that Shaka couldn't do this at Texas, so it's rejuvenated him at Marquette, as you said. I think a lot of people look at it as, oh, this is corny or it's cheesy or whatnot. But honestly, he says it. It's the power of relationships. They, at one point, had gone on a crazy winning streak in the Big East last year. They won 8 in their last 9. They won 8 of 9, rather. And that led them then to almost getting in their own heads. Certain guys that are getting NBA looks, Justin Lewis, starting to fight with their own agendas. That's the thing. It's agenda season, too, in college hoops.
Yeah.
Which teams are fighting for themselves and which guys are starting to think about money.
Yeah.
Even more money.
Yeah.
Cash.
Which is players and coaches.
Players
and coaches, both.
Yep.
Yes.
I think more than ever because of the carousel and how quickly it turns. You're going to see some no-shows at the conference tournament this week, and you're going to say, wait, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
But seriously, it does. I think for Marquette, it was just investing in who they had. They didn't go out and get a transfer splash. They didn't go out and get a 4 or 5-star recruit. That wasn't in place. It's not going to be in place at Marquette. But it almost makes you like them more. They're very likable because they've just done it off of internal, organic player development. Cam Jones is a bucket getter, folks. He could go off this week at the Garden. Kolek sets things up. I mean, Tyler Kolek on the year has 246 assists to 73 turnovers. 243 assists to 76 turnovers. It's insane what he's been able to do. Omax Prosper's just gotten better. I think Titus Oso-Ighodaro is the most underrated player in the Big East. He's like a 5.
He's like a point center for them or something. Like his passing's so good. He's just you're right. Like I guess it's the ball got out of. I liked watching last year. Like I like Justin Lewis and I like Daryl Morcell, but like now that the ball's in Kolek's hands and you just like let him cook, I guess is kind of the recipe that you surround him with guys that they don't really have a ton of like awesome shooters, I guess. Like Joplin's a knockdown guy, I'd say, but everybody except for Ighodaro, I guess he'd be like the one guy that's not really a shooter. But it feels like everyone that's on the floor around Kolek can shoot, so they can spread it out. They're back cutting people. I don't know. The ball's humming. I guess like as we're talking it out, that might be what makes the Big East so fun. Is you got offenses like your Marquettes and your Xaviers and your Creightons and Providence has fun offense. Connecticut has fun offense. Like when all these teams are rolling, it's just like such an aesthetically pleasing style of basketball.
Your semifinals could be Marquette, UConn, and Xavier Creighton. The efficiency involved there is ridiculous basketball. Ridiculously good. It's fun. And there's great guard play. I mean, Jordan Hawkins for Connecticut is probably the best NBA prospect from the league. He's going to get drafted. Yeah. That kid's shot, Titus, could take over the Garden this week.
Jordan Hawkins is one of my 2 favorite players in college basketball, along with David Singleton at UCLA, because I'm a shooter and I love shooters. And that I could watch Jordan Hawkins shoot a jump shot. I could just sit there and just watch nothing but highlights of him shooting threes for hours and hours and hours. I freaking love that man.
And don't forget about Alex Caravan at UConn. I mean, he's not a pro prospect, but as a freshman has stepped in there. Danny Hurley's teams play hard. They defend. This year they've got some depth. They hustle. They've tightened up though in the past because they haven't had enough perimeter shooting. Yeah. When they hit perimeter shots, good night. Good night.
Well, yeah. Let's expand on UConn a little bit. A team that was, correct me if I'm wrong, they were number 1 in the team in the country at one point this year. They got up to 2. They never did get to 1.
Couldn't get to 1.
That's right. I remember like that was the argument, was like they should have been 1. And
right.
Then,
with Purdue.
Yeah, with Purdue. Whatever. They got to 2. They were 1 in my mind at that time.
14-0. Yeah. They beat Alabama and Iowa State on a neutral.
Then they started a little bit of a slide. It feels like they might be back, John. It feels like they've won like 8 of 9. They're starting to play a little bit better lately. Yeah.
It's time to just show that you're back.
Yeah.
Like we've now said a couple years in a row, it feels like they're back.
I know.
If you are back, you walk into Madison Square Garden this week and you hoist a trophy. Because you know what? You're talented enough. You're going to have the home court. They've got the fan base.
Yeah. I've been high on Marquette this year. Obviously, like Marquette's playing their best basketball right now. We've been high. I think like as I look at the Big East, it does feel like there's a kind of a drop off. No disrespect to Providence, but it does feel like the top four.
Mm-hmm.
I look at Xavier, I look at Marquette, I look at UConn, I look at Creighton, and I say all four of those teams are Final Four good. I doubt they all four make the Final Four. That would be pretty good for the league if they did. I don't think that's going to happen.
Do you feel really good about one of them to make the Final Four?
I don't know which one yet, but I do feel good about one of them maybe.
Check back.
But I was going to say, like, what was I going to say? I don't even know.
After that, Providence.
I would say of those four, I think UConn, like when you look back on the arc of the season, I've talked myself at different times of all four of those teams being like, am I looking at a team that could win a national championship here? I don't know. I think UConn, when they were at their height, they were the best that I've seen this year, if that makes sense. Like I think like when UConn was rolling there for a moment, I was like, this team, how could they not be? They were beating everybody by like 20 points every time they took the floor. They're not back there yet, but there's like that sense that I guess the ultimate point I'm trying to get to is like I went all in on UConn in a way that I haven't quite gotten to with the other three. And I don't know if they're going to get all the way back there, but I'm starting to see the signs, and I'm starting to get a little more excited about them because their talent and their depth, and you bring a 7-footer off the bench. You have Sonogo, who's one of the best big men in the country. He's like, Coach, I need a breather. Tugs on his jersey. He's like, give me some rest. They throw him down. They bring in Klingon. And you're like, does it ever end if you're the opposing big man?
No.
So you're right. If they start hitting shots, I think Newton is the ceiling for them, though. I think the one thing that's missing from this UConn team that national champions in the past have had is your Kimball Walker, your Shabazz Napier, the guy who's running the point that's like, I'm a creator, but I also am not going to throw the ball all over the gym and give free possessions to the other team. Newton is like a little shaky at times. He can be great. I think he's their ceiling. When he's clicking, UConn they could win a national championship. I'm going to say that. They could. They could
win a national championship. In a year like this, they definitely could win a national championship because it is wide open. It really is. And point guard play was the biggest question that we asked with Connecticut at the start of the year. Newton turned it on. He turned it on when the calendar turned to February. Mm-hmm. Now, they had some games that were, quote, easier, but they still went out and won them, and they won them in somewhat commanding fashion. They've won 5 in a row. They've won 8 in their last 9. I like the way that this team is coming on. Andre Jackson is one of the 5 best athletes in college basketball.
He's incredible, yeah.
He is a ridiculous level athlete. They just have to stay organized. As long as they stay organized offensively and get some tempo to what they're doing, because when they get stuck in the half court, sometimes they fall into some questionable shot selection, but that's what a point guard's for.
Yeah.
Tristan Newton came to UConn for this month. He came to UConn for this moment. If he could step up this week, Connecticut will tie Georgetown for the most Big East tournament championships with 8.
Well, there you go. I think Mark, as I'm thinking back on the 4 that I said, I guess like I do love Marquette. They're one of, I would say Marquette. I'm just trying to think off the top of the dome of the most fun teams in the country that I've just like really enjoyed watching.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I don't care if they win or lose. I just love throwing their games on. Marquette's up there, Baylor's up there.
Yes.
Arizona at times is a lot of fun with how they play, and Gonzaga. But
Texas A&M's getting fun.
Texas A&M's very
with
fun.
Wade Taylor.
Yeah. The guard play is great there. But I do worry sometimes. Can Marquette guard enough to like win 6 games in a row in March? I don't know. I start to question that. But in terms of like how fun, and Tyler Kolek, how can you not love Tyler Kolek when he starts the season in the I don't need to remind you, John. I'll remind the listeners. This man was told that Marquette was picked to finish 9th in the conference. He had 2 words to the people that voted him 9th in the conference. He said, "Fuck them." That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. And then
and you know what? He was right.
And when he said that, it was funny. It's not really fun. Maybe it's more funny. I don't know. But like, then they went out and won the Big East, and now they're the 1 seed. And they're the number 6 team in the country.
It's one of the few times where that aged well.
Yeah.
It's seriously.
How
many guys could say that and then they end up winning it?
He would have been vindicated if they finished top 4 in the league. You know, like he would have still been vindicated. And they went out and won the league by multiple games. It's incredible. But no, I'm high on Marquette. Marquette fans have been blowing me up, like talk about us, and you know, as they do.
And not only did they win it, he's the best player in the Big East.
He's the best player in the Big East.
He's going to win Player of the Year.
Yeah. But I just worry, like, that's what if I'm being completely honest, if we're in the trust tree, I do worry about that with Marquette. I don't, but then at the same time, it's like, should that be that's not the standard? Like, should we look at a Marquette team and say, like I said, given the circumstances, are you going to say like, hey, I don't think you can win the national championship? Are Marquette fans sad about that? No, honestly.
Not this year.
Not this year, of course.
But
not.
If they could make the second weekend, here's the thing. Marquette hasn't won a Big East, an NCAA tournament. First off, Marquette's never won the Big East tournament. That's one. Now, they joined the league in 05-06. So they haven't been around since it was established, but still. Marquette has not won an NCAA tournament game since Buzz Williams was the coach.
That is insane. That's like a stat that I don't believe. In fact, I know that you're a smart man, and I know that you know that to be a fact. I still have like an instinct to want to Google that to double check.
Is the Steve Wojciechowski era just a wash for you?
It just feel like Marquette feels like a program that's like they've had some players. Like Marcus Howard never won an NCAA tournament game?
Marcus Howard and Marquette. I watched one of the biggest beatdowns I've ever seen in an NCAA tournament game when John Morant goes for a triple-double.
That's right.
That was
against Marquette.
Oh my God. And at halftime of the game, I walk into a Wi-Fi-less XL Center media room. And I look at everybody, I go, look, Zion's going to go 1. Now, obviously, John's dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
But that kid, that kid doing what he was doing at Murray State,
I know,
was absolutely nuts. But Marquette, they couldn't win. They could not win in the NCAA tournament under Wojo. They got to change that. They need to win a tournament game and break this second.
Was Buzz's last year the Elite 8 year?
Buzz's last year was 13-14, and then he jumped for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
So
Tech, yeah.
They went to the Sweet 16, 11, 12, 13, then had the Elite 8, I think, in 13, was it? They haven't won a tournament game since 13.
That's crazy.
It's 2023. Now, and Marquette is one of, Titus, we don't have an updated one, but if you look at spending, Marquette basketball is one of the top 20 budget programs in college hoops.
Really? I didn't know that. What I'm learning today, I know nothing about Marquette.
They spend a ton on basketball.
Well,
they got the Jordan deal.
So what you're saying is eventually they probably should start winning some NCAA tournament games.
It's time.
It's time, yeah.
It's time for the Golden Eagles. It's time for Jimmy Butler and Jay Crowder and Dwayne Wade. It's time for Marquette to make the most of this March.
But also with Shaka reinventing his career, however you want to describe what's happening in Milwaukee with him on an individual level. As a reminder, this man has only been to one Sweet 16 in his coaching career, and it was the year he went to the Final Four. And I think that's something that like has gotten lost over time. Like, Texas fans are like, we never forgot that. But like Shaka Smart there for a second was the boy wonder coach. It was him and Brad Stevens. That was like those are the two guys that everybody was so high on, and he's never been back to the Sweet 16 since 2011. So there's like the dual thing going on. There's kind of a lot of that because you got Xavier, who's one of the best programs in the country that hasn't been to a Final Four ever in program history, coached by maybe the best coach that's never been to a Final Four.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of this like shared, let's get over I was thinking about that today, just in general. Like the Big East has always been a coaches conference. It will probably always be a coaches conference. Mm-hmm. It feels like a coaches conference, like the off-season hires this year were all the rage in the Big East. The coaches run this league, but yet you have a collection of these coaches that are all trying to get over the hump. You have Thad Matta and Shaka Smart, the only two that have ever been to a Final Four. You have a handful of guys that have never even been to a Sweet 16. A lot of guys, they've been to one. Ed Cooley got his first last year. Shaka Smart, as I said, has only been to one. McDermott's been to one. Dan Hurley's never been. As for all the chatter about him, he's still waiting to kind of get over that hump. So
Sheen Holloway's been.
Sheen Holloway, he has been. I remember it.
Sleeper this week. He's my sleeper this week.
You think so?
Yes.
All right.
I think they could be there on Friday. I think they could knock off Xavier. I think they will have a chance. They're getting good production from some of their guys. They blew out Providence. They went into.
How did that happen? I didn't watch that game. I checked the score. I did. I couldn't believe it.
Look, his style is that where it's like St. Peter's. I mean, like he took the same. He's trying to do it in the Big East.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So their style is, we are going to defend the hell out of you, and you better hope we don't start making some shots. Well, Dre Davis, who transferred in, went 9 of 10 from the floor.
Yeah.
He couldn't miss.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's happening at the Garden, but I always say local teams have a bit of an advantage when they step into MSG. They just do. So when Seton Hall plays Xavier Thursday night, it's not like Xavier's going to have some overwhelming crowd.
Yeah.
Like, the game will have kind of a okay crowd. It'll be a lot of Creighton and Nova fans filling in. Who are they going to root for? Xavier or Seton Hall?
That's a good point.
So if it's a competitive game, they're going to root for the underdog because they want them on Friday.
Right.
And then, narratives. We love narratives.
Mm-hmm.
Holloway,
Mm-hmm.
King of March,
Mm-hmm.
knows how to win this time of year.
Yeah.
He's built for this. He's got this going on. Like, I do think Seton Hall's playing well going into the conference tournament. And I've learned that if you're playing well and you've got a coach that knows how to win some of these games, and maybe Xavier, now Fremantle done for the year, how do they look? We'll see.
You think they can muck it up?
I think they could muck it up and do enough to win a game like that.
Yeah.
I do think, I will go on record saying this. I don't think that the top 4 seeds will be in the semifinals.
Really? Wow.
I think somebody's going to pull something off.
It's hard for
it's
me.
not that
Okay.
bad. It's not that big of a take because Villanova.
Well, you're not. But I think there's such a defined. I think that like I said, I think the top 4 seeds in this conference are good enough to make a Final Four. I don't think Providence is. I don't think Villanova is. I don't think, like, no matter how well they're playing, their ceiling's probably Sweet 16 at best. Every other team has greater ambitions. So, but you're right. Like, crazy things happen. That's why
There's been Elite 8 teams that go out early in their conference tournament.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you lose and you get humbled, then you got 10 days to prep.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing in the Big East tournament. You either want to lose Thursday if you know you're going.
Yeah.
Or win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't get to Friday and lose.
Why go all the way
No.
to just to lose?
Don't get halfway home in the bedroom.
Can we talk about Xavier a little bit? Xavier was I think they're one of the big 4 that we haven't hit that I want to spend a little time on. That I don't know how high they got up in the polls, but they were humming there for a second and became a great story. Sean Miller going back to Xavier. Sully Boom looked like one of the better guards in the country. He still is, but he was getting some. I don't want to say National Player of the Year buzz, but first team All-American buzz there for a second. Sully Boom was. Where do we land on Xavier now that Fremantle's out for the year? I sort of worry about their depth issues. I like their roster. They kind of have the same problem Marquette, where it's like they're fun, but are they good? And are they built for March, or are they just like a really fun team? I don't know yet. I guess we'll find out soon enough. What are your thoughts on Xavier?
Well, I think Sully Boom's one of the most electrifying guards in the country. Colby Jones has been great down the stretch this season. I mean, if you look at his last couple of games, it's a ridiculous stat line. He went for 29 out of Providence, had another 20-point game. He scored at least 19 points in his last 3 games coming into the Big East tournament. So Jones is an underrated pro prospect. Xavier's been better defensively without Fremantle. They've been better defensively, and the numbers prove it.
Yeah.
They haven't allowed, outside of the Providence game, they haven't allowed more than 70 points more than once with Fremantle out. So that's big for them. I think they're a team that wins a tournament game and will be in a very, very close second-round game. Yeah, that's the gut feeling I have.
That's the destiny. Yeah,
that's the destiny.
That feels right. Yeah,
like could be the Sunday night, one of the last games of the weekend.
Yeah,
and you're just like, here we go.
Yeah,
this is the last. Like they could be, because they're probably going to be a. Let's see, they'll probably be like a 4 seed.
Like where they're forecasted now, because this stuff changes every.
I think they're around a 4.
Yeah, they're probably about a 4. I would say,
which means they'll get a 13. They're the team that they're going to be hoping potentially to get the 12. Because if they get a 12, all of a sudden you're in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Because I just think it's hard. It's hard for the 12s to sustain. Sometimes you get it. But
they're in the region where the 12 pulls off the upset over the 5,
right.
And you get the 12 in the center. Yeah.
Like I was in Buffalo last year. Providence beats South Dakota State.
Yeah.
And then they watched Richmond beat Iowa, and they knew it.
Yeah.
They knew when Richmond beat Iowa. I could not believe Iowa lost that game. to Richmond.
I will never. I said on the Big Ten preview with Aunt Wright, we're running this same episode as this. Yeah, so I guess I'm spoiling it because we're gonna run John first, right? So
here we go.
Anyway, I'm gonna spoil it. I gave up on Iowa. I'm done. Like I believed so much in Iowa last year because they were so fun and so good, and Keegan Murray was awesome, and there was two of him. On
yes.
the team. And I was like,
how do you lose in the first round?
How do you lose in the first?
That's
and they
why
shot
this
like
week,
1 for 30 from the 3-point line. It felt like
this week. That's why I think Michigan State could win the Big Ten tournament.
I agree with that. Yeah,
their draw is not bad.
Yeah.
For a 4.
Yeah.
In a conference tournament, it's not a bad draw.
I just always worry about Izzo. Like, is this a year that he cares about the Big Ten tournament, or does he think he's got? I don't know. Izzo goes. I feel like every 3 years he cares about trying to win the Big Ten tournament, and otherwise he's just maybe this is one of the
timing would suggest.
I don't know. What else I feel like we hit everything. I mean, I don't know. I Providence.
Yeah, well, Bryce Hopkins, if he turns the light switch on, can take over a game. I mean, Cal could have used him. Cal could have used him for a good portion of this year. The problem with Providence is their guard play has been inconsistent, and they're not defending a lick. That's not Ed Cooley basketball.
They can't really shoot either, and Providence sort of reminds me of Maryland in the Big Ten. As a Big Ten guy, I watch.
Sounds like a good 8-9 game.
Yeah, that feels. They feel like the same team. They win at home. They have insane home environments. They have insane fan bases, which like makes you want to, when you're sitting down in front of a microphone like this, you want to say nice things about them, but also you're like, the fact that you guys have such good fan bases is almost a detriment because when your teams leave their home arenas, they don't really play as well. I get the same sort of. I don't really feel like Providence is great at anything. This particular Providence team. Last year, I will say, tip of the cap. Like there were the haters. That was like the whole narrative all year was they weren't good. They were just lucky. They make the run to the Sweet 16. They give Kansas a good game. I think they kind of shed that narrative with the March that they had. So that's cool for the program to get over that hump. But like this particular team, this group, I'm like I like Hopkins, but there's not a lot to love.
They need Jared Bynum to perform at a high level this week.
Yeah.
He was a really integral part of their Sweet 16 run a year ago. But Noah Locke has had ups and downs. 1 minute he's great, the next he's not. Devin Carter's been good, the South Carolina transfer. I'm going to give him his flowers. I think he was the best defensive player in the conference this year. And Ed Croswell's solid. That's the thing. They really are tailor-made for like a 7-10, 8-9 game. That's just where they are. They're on their best day. Could they be in a game with a 1? Yeah, probably. Do you actually think they're going to beat a 1? No. Yeah. But you know what? They're going to make the tournament. There's been some narratives out there the last 72 hours.
I've
they
been
might
seeing
miss
this
it.
too. Yeah,
I dismissed that, and other people said, "No, you're wrong."
Yeah,
they're making it.
They're making it because what TJ and I were talking about this. He's a Rutgers fan, and so he's very locked in on. He's very locked in on the bubble right now.
Yeah,
as all Rutgers people are.
Got to beat Hunter.
Every time Rutgers loses a game, TJ's like, "That's it, we're out." And then I've tried to point out to him, like every team on the bubble is continuing to lose games.
It's chaos.
So just because Providence is fluttering a little bit, I don't know what the word would be.
And further evidence that for those that want tournament expansion, please stop. We do not want to watch like an 11-12 seed playing in the Big Ten tournament.
I do.
Fighting
I would
for
say,
its life.
You know who? I'm just like kind of spitballing here. I would say like I personally, if the 13th seed, say in the Big Ten, if they made the NCAA, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all, John. So who is the 13th team, by the way? What's the harm in that? It could be a pretty good team. Is it Ohio State?
They got a chance.
Don't do this, John. Don't do this.
Got a chance. Why don't we talk about that? I love Columbus.
Before I let you go, I'm launching a new segment. We got a show here, so we got a new show here, and I'm trying to throw some segments against the wall and see what sticks. I'm calling this segment, let's just see how it feels. I'm going to say something. I don't want you to react right away. I want you to just see how it feels. Give it a second. Chew on it. Let it like just soak into your bones a little bit, and then let me know how it feels. So you ready? Here we go. Rick Pitino to St. John's.
It's the $80 steak that you look at and you really want, and it's just not going to happen.
Damn it!
You're not paying that bill.
Cut this part, TJ. Cut this whole part. We're not airing this.
You're not paying that bill. You're not paying that bill. I want it. I really want it.
Who doesn't? We all want it.
It's not happening.
He wouldn't even have to move, John. He could live in the exact same house, take the job, and just he wouldn't even. Yeah, I want this man back at a high major. I don't want him at Iona. And the Big East makes sense. St. John's makes sense.
I think he ends up at a place in Florida. USF, UCF. I'm not saying that's interesting, but
yeah, I don't want that. I want him in the Big East.
I know you do.
We need the. It's a coach's league. That's what I just said.
Yes.
Get Rick Pitino this offseason to St. John's. I don't know if it's going to change the program, but it's going to give me something to talk about.
What would the Garden be like for his first Big East game? On fire.
Come on.
On fire.
Come
out with that white tuxedo?
Oh.
Are you kidding me? It'd be great. It would be great, but it's not
We
happening.
need it. We as a sport need it. The conference needs it. Everybody needs it. What about Ewing? They're going to have to that's such a mess of a situation. That's just
It's time for change. It's time for change. That change is coming. The thing about Georgetown is it is no longer a top 10 job. And I don't even know if it's a top 20 job. It's a top 20 brand. The brand is great. And when the brand is winning, it is great. Yeah. It's strong. But Titus, they're stuck in the 80s and 90s. They need a total reboot as a program. And they're behind with NIL because the president at Georgetown University, I know we're going deep here, but try to make people smarter. The president at Georgetown University, Jack DeGioia, has a very prominent role at the NCAA.
So he's anti-paying players, basically.
I don't want to say anti-paying players. I want to say anti-cutting corners.
Yeah.
Which NIL is.
Yeah, it's the Wild West. It's the Wild West, yeah. And he wants law and order, and you can't have that in the Wild West. We want just
You know,
outlaws.
It'd be great.
What's that?
College hoops off-season alternate series, Law and Order, NIL.
NIL.
You just show up to people's stores.
If I'm Big East commissioner, I'm getting Rick Pitino to St. John's, and I'm getting Mike Bray to Georgetown, and you now have the most intriguing league in the country. Done. Overnight, snap of a finger. You have everyone's attention. You have the country's attention. Whether either one of those programs are good next year doesn't matter. You have both those coaches in the mix. Because then you're setting up a situation where the coaches of like three of the worst teams in your conference are Thad Matta, Rick Pitino, and Mike Bray. That's the bottom of your barrel is those three coaches. That's insane.
It is insane.
That no other conference would have that. That would be incredible. And those three guys, I don't know. They're all three great hangs, I'm sure. I don't know. I've only hung out with one of them, but I'm gonna imagine the other two are fun.
DePaul fans would be upset. You're just trying to
that I just over. Yeah.
There are DePaul fans.
That can't be true. We're moving to Chicago. TJ and I. We're gonna. I'm actually looking at houses like kind of by DePaul.
They're beautiful
little spot there.
Oh, love it.
I might get a soft spot for DePaul eventually. We'll
get you to Wintrust Arena.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I need a Chicago team. Northwestern thinks they're Chicago's team.
Yeah.
I can't cheer for another Big Ten team, so I need like DePaul or Loyola.
You're not with the
I
Nun?
guess those are Loyola or DePaul would
Sister?
be the two.
She
Sister
picked
Jean.
Kentucky.
I know. Sister Jean, come on. John, you're the best. Give people people listening that are going to watch the Big East tournament on Fox. By the way, I love that about the Big East tournament, the partnership with Fox. I used to work at Fox as of like a month ago, and I love my time there. I love all the people there. They sent me to this thing last year, I want to say.
Yep.
And it's awesome. It's a great event, and great people are running the event and all that sort of thing. But for the people listening, the people that are going to be watching this week that are kicking themselves, are like, damn it, I should have made plans to go to this thing. What's your travel guide to the Big East? Like for people next year, is it an all week thing? Like, is there buzz like tonight? Is that like a thing? Is it like an all, like should you get in on
Yes.
Monday and just like spend the whole week here?
Get in by Tuesday.
Okay.
Have dinner in the city Tuesday in Midtown. Like tonight, as we're recording this interview, I'm hosting a happy hour tonight with roundtable discussions. We're talking hoops and we're just enjoying some brews.
Okay.
Previewing the tournament, catching up with people. Schools stop by, they check in. And then once Wednesday hits, Wednesday's sort of the hangout day because it is the first round day. The games aren't as intense. Grab a nice breakfast or lunch in the city. The first game's not till 3. Head through Central Park. maybe see a show if you don't want to put up with DePaul or Georgetown playing in the Big East tournament. And then sleep on it. Thursday, here we go.
Thursday's the
You're
big
getting
day,
up.
yeah.
You're getting up. You're going to a bar. I just was walking by when I was walking into your guys' HQ. There's all these bars with flyers in their windows saying, we open at 10 on Thursday. We open at 10 on Thursday. It's like St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And it will be Thursday because of UConn Providence. Those people are out of their minds. They're going to take over the bar scene. It's going to be nuts outside here on Thursday. And you just camp out. Camp out. You're going to stay all day for the games. Creighton Villanova's at 9:45 at night. And beer's still going to be for sale at the Garden.
That's wild.
And then you sleep out. You stay out all night Thursday, sleep in Friday because the semifinals aren't until 6:30 and 9 in the city. And then championship game Saturday, 6:30. So the Big East is a sleep-in tournament, too. You can sleep
in. So Thursday you get wild and then sleep in on Friday.
And then you prepare for Saturday. By the time Saturday rolls around, you're like, there's only one game left. But this year, like previously we get to Saturday, and it'd be like, it's Villanova and them, and Villanova will probably win. Oh, this year might be different here. Like, because Greg McDermott, here's the one fact that I'm going to leave you with. And I'm picking Creighton to win the Big East tournament. Greg McDermott has been to 4 of the last 8 Big East championship games. He's 0-4.
He's got to get over the hump.
This would be 5 out of 9.
Yeah.
This is their year. And I think you'll see an emotional reaction, whether it's McDermott, whether it's Shaka, if it's Sean Miller. The image of Sean Miller getting handed a trophy in New York City.
Yeah.
Like, there's some real...
Dan Hurley, if UConn wins, Dan Hurley...
UConn fans will be nuts. They'll be insufferable. They'll be nuts. Let's go.
Final question is that, who owns the Garden? Who? This is a debate that has raged on. You just when I ask you the question, what's the first thing that comes to mind? There can be a player, it could be a coach, it could be a team. When I say who owns Madison Square Garden, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Jay Wright.
That's got to be the answer, probably.
He's owned it the last decade.
Yeah.
The man has literally owned the building. He has owned it. Jay Wright, Kemba Walker.
Yeah, he owned it for a second, but not, yeah.
Yeah, Jerry McNamara owned it for a second.
Yeah.
You know, in those days, yes, I get it. Jay Wright legitimately, for the last 10 years, has walked inside the building and has basically won like 80 to 90% of the time in games that are huge games.
Yeah.
And he just wins them every time. Jay Wright.
John Fanta calls games for Fox, does the Big East shoot around. You're gonna be on Field of 68 a bunch throughout March, right? You'll be
Field of 68 throughout March. Twitter and YouTube all week long. We're ahead of every game, after every game with guests, doing a Big East shoot around from the Garden.
He's the best. John, thanks for coming over, man. This is you're my first real in-studio guest. Brandon Walker doesn't count. He works here. So you're the first guy to take the effort to come here and be on the show. I really appreciate it, man.
Love the show. I can't wait for it to take off. Best month of the year. Happy for you, my friend. Thanks for having me.
All right, Ant Wright is the host of the Big Ten Coast to Coast podcast. You can follow him on Twitter @It's Ant Wright. I recommend anybody listening or watching that has even a tiniest inkling of interest in Big Ten basketball, please go follow this man. Because I think Ant, you have the best Big Ten basketball content out there, and it's hilarious because I'm sure you remember this. My introduction to you on the internet, we didn't play against each other. You played and I sat on the bench and watched you play. But you were at Michigan the same time I was at Ohio State. But my I remembered you from that because I was a scouting report fiend and I just I knew every guy we played against. But my first interaction I really remember with you online, if I remember correctly, was the Carson Edwards Trey Burke debacle where you and I got into it a little bit, and then I was like, this guy sucks. Like he's just coming at my neck. And then I slowly, I'll admit it to you now, like as I didn't follow you, I was still like looking at your page every so often and like seeing what you were tweeting and stuff. And I was like, damn, I'm just going to follow this dude. So I'm so glad I did because you got the best shit out there, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. I will say that debacle, that little back and forth, got me blocked by Purdue basketball's page.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they unblocked me like a few months ago before like 2 years. They were like, I hate this guy. Get away from me. So that's hilarious.
So the story, for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, when I was at Fox, my excuse is that this was right as the pandemic was starting, and I think as we look back on it, nothing in that era of time should count. I think we should throw it all out, including Georgetown winning the Big East tournament. Like, I mean,
Facts.
like some of this stuff is like, what a wild time. So Fox was desperate for content, and they come to me and they're like, can you build a team of Big Ten guys from like the last 10 years? And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And they're like, well, the pandemic's going on. There was no tournament. We need something. I was like, all right. And Carson Edwards had just come off of his insane 2019 NCAA tournament run. So I was like, I'll throw Carson on there. What's the harm? And the harm was Ant, who knows more about all these guys. I mean, you're right. Like Trey Burke was a better college basketball player than Carson Edwards. But I was like, yeah, what the hell? It's just one of these like listicle type things. And man, I set off Michigan Twitter. I'll never forget that, man. So.
Oh man, that was between Trey and like Cassius. I'm like, oh man, this dude just lit a fire.
Let's talk about the Big Ten a little bit, though. First of all, how much do you care about the national title drought in this conference? Because I don't care at all. And in fact, I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes describing in specific detail how little I care. It definitely doesn't bother me at all. And does it bother you that we haven't won a title in the conference?
It doesn't. It would bother me if I feel like they never got the opportunity to get there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It would bother me if they weren't making Final Four runs. It would bother me if they didn't have teams good enough. I felt that Wisconsin in 2015 was good enough. I felt Michigan in 2013 was good enough. And I felt that you had 3 teams in Michigan State, and Wisconsin in 2014. They let Kevin Ollie win the national championship. So you had 3 teams in the Elite 8, and then you have, one of the Harrison twins. I'm not sure if it was Aaron or the other one, hit big shots against both Michigan and Wisconsin to kind of end their seasons. With Stauskas, what he was doing with LeVert, and then you had what Kaminsky and Decker were doing in 14 with Wisconsin. You're looking at that team like that, like they could have easily went on and won everything. And the fact that Kentucky probably took out the 2 best teams, those 2 teams aren't losing to Kevin Ollie. Sorry. They're not. So it would upset me more if they never were in that position.
Right.
No, but because they've gotten there and they played against really good teams when they get to that point, but it doesn't really bother me because it's already a crapshoot and you have teams competing to get there, so it's not.
I'm with you. I think that's been my attitude is I think that it's more just being unlucky than anything else, because we've had so many different programs. I'm going to say we, because we're Big Ten guys. We're just gonna say it. We have had so many programs get to the national title game and lose, and at a certain point, you're like, this is just luck that like things are going. Like you said, like 2015 Wisconsin had Duke on the ropes. Even my 2007 Ohio State team, you look back on it, you're like, how the hell did Florida get away with bringing 5 starters back?
That doesn't happen.
Like that's not fair. Happened. How's that fair?
Brewer, Joakim Horford. I'm like, what is going on? Like, go, like, leave. Like that would never happen today.
Never, ever.
Never happen.
2013 Michigan. The Burke block, if that's not called, like what? So there's like a lot of things where you point to and you're like, maybe it's just you're just unlucky. But then at a certain point, you're like, I mean, yeah, but why is this only one conference this is happening to? So. I don't know, man. At some point, we're gonna have to break through. I don't think it's gonna be this year, is it? It's not gonna be.
No,
this year.
It's not gonna be this year. It's not. I don't think teams are old enough, and I don't think they're talented enough on the perimeter to get to that point.
Yeah. Shoot me straight. Let's talk about the actual Big Ten tournament a little bit. Shoot me straight. Because I already know Michigan's gonna win this thing. My question to you is Michigan going to go to the Elite 8 or the Sweet 16 after they get the auto bid from the Big Ten? After they win this tournament?
I know that they've had 5 straight years, but I think they're going to end up going 1-1 here. I think they're going to beat Rutgers. Rutgers has struggled over the last several games, and ever since Mag has been out, they've been just down.
Yeah.
Because I think Peichel is one of the best coaches that people don't really know about. But I think they should beat them, and then you're playing a Purdue team who's also, 500 in the last 8 games. That could be a toss-up game, but another game where Michigan should be able to compete. But as we've seen this year, they've had they've had 12 losses decided by 2 possessions or less.
That's crazy.
Going into regulation. So it's one of those games where, like, if it's close late, there's a good chance that they're still going to find a way to like not get the job done. End up 18-14. So I don't know.
Are you optimistic about Michigan though in general? Like, because maybe I'm so used to, I feel like I've seen this story before where when you think Michigan's done, they put it together, they sneak into the tournament, they go to the Sweet 16. That's how it's going to happen. I still think that's going to happen. But then just beyond that, I mean, you got Hunter, you got Jet, and Kobe's awesome. Like you got these guys that are going to be pros playing alongside Hunter Dickinson. Jawan's been there before, whether he's a good coach or not. Like, I think the debate goes back and forth, but at the end of the day, like he's been down this road before. If you're a neutral party and you're trying to talk yourself into Michigan going on a little run here, you're not crazy, are you?
No, you're not. And like you said, like they have 2 perimeter pros. Kobe more so the guy who you would think Michigan would need to really step up, because Jet is more of imagine like a more athletic Duncan Robinson from the Heat.
Yeah.
Like when he was earning that contract. He's really good with 2 dribbles or less. Very dynamic, 2 dribbles or less, or getting leverage coming off of handoffs or screens, getting downhill, using that 6'7", 6'8" frame and finishing around the rim. And then he's a really good shooter. But like Kobe is like, he's the guy on both ends. Like he's every bit of a pro, and a lot of people don't know that, he is the age of a true freshman. Jet is older than he is. So, Kobe just turned 19 in September. Didn't play much last year, kind of unplayable. And his strides from the off season just on both ends are just night and day.
Yeah.
And then you have Hunter, you have someone who's an All-American as a freshman, who was surrounded by pros and Franz Wagner and Isaiah Livers and Shotty Brown and all these guys. It's so strange. And unfortunately in November and December, I think because you had younger guys playing important positions on the perimeter, that you end up with not getting through some of the lumps where you can lose to Central Michigan, where you're in close games against Eastern, you're in close games against Lipscomb, you go to OT against Ohio, and that hurts your metrics. That hurts overall, and that's why they're in their spot.
Yeah.
They are a tournament team based off of where they are now.
Right.
They just don't have a tournament resume.
Yeah, which is why they're going to beat Rutgers and then beat Purdue, and then they're going to Purdue. I looked this up before I sat down here to talk to you. This blows my mind. Purdue has a 42% winning percentage at all time in the Big Ten tournament. Indiana has a 38.5%, 0.385 winning percentage. The 2 programs that have the most regular season Big Ten titles, and the Big Ten tournament more often than not. This year it's in Chicago, but it's usually in Indy, or it flips back and forth. That kind of blew my mind that you got Purdue and IU that are so good in the regular season, but always seem to suck in this thing. And maybe I'm reading too much into that, but like as I'm looking at the bracket, I'm like, all right, Purdue's the 1 seed. We should talk about Purdue obviously anyway, but because they're far from a flawless team as we've seen lately.
Yeah.
I'm just so fascinated with what might happen, because if you're someone who starts buying into history, you're looking at Northwestern sucked in this tournament forever, and they're a top seed. Purdue's like the top 3 seeds are teams that frankly never do well in this thing. So yeah, that's super fascinating to me.
It's weird because 2 through 12 are like, there's like 2 games between 2 through 12, and that's like the weirdest thing. So like, outside of Purdue, Ohio State, and Minnesota, everybody else is pretty much the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much the same. 500, give or take a game or 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the seedings here, I wouldn't look much into it. I'll look more into like who's been playing well as of late.
Yeah. So let's talk about Purdue, because they have not not been playing well as of late. I'm certainly not shocked by what's transpired. I know you're a smart man, so you saw what I saw very earlier in the season, which is like, yes, you're winning, but you still have these freshman guards that we're going to see. It's a long season. As we get more tape on these guys, let's see what happens. Where are you at with Purdue as a whole, this specific team? Like, do you see it as like the book is out on them now. They're screwed. They have no hope. Or do you think they could still like salvage a Final Four? I think national title's off the table. I think that's fair to say.
I believe so too.
But do you think they could salvage a Final Four? Do you think this team is still that good?
They need good matchups, is one, as we all know, and they're going to need some upsets, I believe. Like last year when they walked into St. Peter's and they still blew it.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
So I'm like, it's weird, but yeah, when you're looking at a team like Purdue who relies on two freshmen the way that they do, I love what Braden Smith has done this year. I love what Fletcher Lawyer has done this year. Really good stuff, but when you really pressure them and really force them to make decisions, they have struggled a lot. And what happens is that impacts Edey because Edey can no longer get the ball when and where he wants it. And teams are starting to push Edey out a bit, really making it tougher for him to get within 5 or 6 feet. They're getting him out to 9, 10, 11 feet where he could still hit the hook, but it's not his like 70% clip where he's usually at. If he's at 50, 55%, Purdue becomes really much more manageable than if they're getting after the guards, who could be a bit turnover prone when you heat them up. That's why you could see an Illinois team who was down 51-27 be able to come back and tie it up and really make it a game really, really late. Like they were down 24 in the I believe in the second half.
In the second half. Yeah. Illinois was down 24 and they just turned up the chaos.
They turned up Ty Rodgers and Sincere Harris, 2 freshmen, but those were Bulldogs, and they Underwood sicked them on their guards, and they just turned it.
I also think there's something with Purdue. I swear there's something to this, that the jersey, the brand of Purdue, like seeps into the DNA of the players. And I think when the NCAA tournament rolls around and Purdue starts 1 for 16 from the 3-point line, it doesn't have to be 1 for 60. They'll start 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. I really think those players are going to be like, shit, it's happening again. We are Purdue, and it's here goes, it's happening again.
Yeah, so like they are so one-dimensional. If they go up against a team who really doesn't care who they are, and they go up a team who really get after their guards and their wings, forcing Ethan Morton to be more aggressive, and they're getting into Newman and they're getting into Lawyer and Smith, it's going to be one of those times where I won't be surprised if Purdue loses by 10 or 15 points.
Yeah. You mentioned Illinois coming back from down 24 to take the lead just to lose the game, which is a great microcosm of what this Illinois team is. When I heard about Matthew Meyer having caffeine poisoning, I thought that is basically Illinois' basketball team. It feels like when I watch them, it feels like the whole team has caffeine poisoning. It's just like pure chaos including Underwood. Like the whole team. I like Underwood. I think he's awesome. I think he's done a great job of getting some juice back to that program. But there are times where I watch them and I'm like, you need a coach who's not matching your frenetic energy. You need a coach almost that's like going to calm them down. And instead it cuts to Underwood and he's like just making them even crazier. But having said all that, I can't quit Illinois. Like I haven't been able all season. I know they've been up and down. Even in they had the 2 great non-conference who they beat, Texas and did they beat UCLA? Is it or Baylor? Who did they beat in that doubleheader?
They beat UCLA. They were down by 15 against them too, and they Sincere Harris in the game and totally turned that game around and won fairly easily.
That was like in December. They beat Texas and UCLA, but then I remember they had like 2 head scratching. Like Missouri blew them out, I think, and then someone else.
That Missouri team heated them. I mean, I love Kobe Brown. I love what that coach has done with them. They were just playing at a whole nother speed.
Yeah,
I felt, I think it caught Illinois by surprise, and they just didn't take their foot off the gas pedal. That was an ugly game.
Through the ups and downs, though, I can't quit them. I just like look at like Coleman Hawkins and Meyer and Terrence Shannon. I'm just like, this is a good basketball team. They're going to be a problem, and like the rational part of my brain is like, no, they're not. They're not. They might win one game in the tournament, and then they'll shoot themselves in the foot. But my heart is just like, I want to love this team. I want to believe that they can put it together, even though they can't. Where do you stand on Illinois?
Really good on the wings. They don't really have a point guard. Sky Clark left the team a few months ago, and then you have Jaden Epps, who's more of an off-ball player, playing on the ball. Sincere Harris is more of an off-ball guy, more of an energy guy. It's almost like they're better with maybe Ty Rodgers running the point. They just don't really have that person to really initiate. So they've gone with like quick hitters to kind of get going. Shannon's a lot better with the ball this year. Shannon was not very good at Texas Tech when he had to initiate, when he had to do the pick and roll thing. He was really good in transition and really good with like spotting up, shooting, spotting up, one dribble dunk, 1-2 dribble floater.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's asked to do a little bit more on the basketball. And he's gotten better throughout this year. It's still not his bread and butter, but he does just enough to keep Illinois in games.
Yeah, yeah. What about the Hoosiers? Because I don't know. It sounds stupid to say this out loud, but I feel like Indiana might be. And again, I'm not saying Indiana has any hope or prayer of winning a national championship, but like I think they might be the Big Ten's best shot. Like that's the sad state of affairs of this conference. Because I just look at like Hood Schifino. You have a pro guard. You have an All-American big man, and they can shoot a little bit. Like they kind of have the pieces in that regard, but then they're not anywhere close to good enough to win a national title. So I understand that's insane. Who is the best team, do you think? Like if I told you one of these teams, believe it or not, shockingly, there is a team from the Big Ten that will win the national championship this year, who would it even be? Who's the team? It's got Purdue by default, I guess. That's what like
I can't even say Purdue because like there are a couple of qualifications that has been the qualifications for years now. One is you got to have somebody under 6'3" in the starting lineup, and you got to have a perimeter pro. Those are two things that have been, and if you don't have one of those things, that's like it's an outlier if that were to happen this year. But it's a weird year because of the COVID stuff. You have like, if you look at like Drake, right? They got like a bunch of 25-year-olds on that team along with Tucker DeVries, who is a pro prospect, right? So, I mean, you're like, who falls under that? Indiana does with Jalen Hood Schifino, but they don't have a guy under 6'3" in the starting group. I don't even think they play a guy under 6'3", which is strange with Xavier Johnson now. But if you look at Illinois, they would maybe fit the bill because I believe Shannon is like an early second round guy. Gosh, who else? Like who else are we looking?
I mean, Michigan State's guards, but like
Michigan State, but like nobody's a pro. On that group, even though I think I love their backcourt with Akins and Tyson Walker and AJ Hogarth. They're very, very good. If any team was going to win a national title this year, I think it will be an outlier in Michigan State from the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And the main reason is because they've kind of found a way like what they need to do. And what they need to do is shoot the damn ball. Hauser, Malik Hall, Akins, Walker, like those guys can light it up.
Yeah.
Like those guys are shooting. Spartan Hoops DK, like he put out something the other day where it was like Michigan State is shooting like 50 to 60% from three over the last few games, and they're taking a lot too.
Yeah.
Like they were 12 for 20 their last game. They hit like 17 or 18 on like a high clip against Nebraska. Like it's been disgusting the way that they've been able to just three ball after three after three. At one point in the second half, they were like 10 for 15 from three. Nebraska didn't have a shot. They were destroying them.
It's Tom Izzo's a well that everybody will keep going back to in March, no matter what. You just look at a bracket, you see Michigan State, but especially a team like this that is so guard oriented and also is going to be like a 7 seed, a 6 seed in state, which is just like a perfect. That's like a sweet chef's kiss. Like if you're an Izzo believer, like the Izzo team to make a run, that seems to fit the bill. But yeah, I don't see. I mean, we should mention Northwestern, the 2 seed, but let's be honest. Like if Northwestern was wearing Michigan State jerseys all year, we'd be calling them frauds, would we not? Like we're like part of the reason people are excited about Northwestern is because this never happens with Northwestern, which is great. And I'm not trying to take it away from Northwestern fans, but I'm also like, let's be real here. Like this is not a Final Four team. Like, this is not that good of a team, but congrats on a fun year for you guys, right? Like we're not Northwestern they're just a fun story. They're not going to actually like Sweet 16 is the ceiling, right? We're not getting carried away here, are we yet?
Okay, so the thing with Northwestern is you have Boo Buie and Chase Idees. You have two guys who are seniors. They're a backcourt, the most important position in college basketball, in my opinion. Chase Idees is a demon on the defensive end, and Boo Buie is someone who can have a Carson Edwards type of run in the NCAA tournament. On top of that, everyone in that program knows that too. A lot of times there's some dissension with guys 3, 4, 5, and 6. I should have a higher role. I should be doing this. There's none of that. They know there's that as 1 and 2. Everybody else follows suit. I think having Robbie Barron at the 4 is an underrated 4-man. You have Ty Berry, really good 3-point shooter who can go off whenever. But Matt Nicholson, what they've done with that dude is crazy. I remember watching him at Clarkston High School in Michigan. 7-footer, can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Him doing what he's doing. I watched him against Rutgers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, at one point, he had like 10 points, all dunks.
Yeah.
Like, what he's doing to take over the paint on both ends, absolutely wild. Wild. I never saw that coming, but they know exactly who is who, and they had that roll down from day one. And I think it takes some teams a couple weeks to figure that out. Once Pete Nance left and once Ryan Young left for Duke and North Carolina, like, those dudes knew exactly who they were. And because of that, that's why they're in this position where they're going to find themselves in that 5, 6, 7 seed range.
You're gonna talk me into believing in Northwestern. I'm saying this is.
I'm not saying believe in them. But
I'm saying, well, I guess like I should say, as a Buckeye, I watched Ohio State beat the hell out of Northwestern in Evanston, and Ohio State sucks. So like part of it is
Ohio State has dudes though.
Thank you. I don't
understand. Bryce Sensabaugh, dude.
This has been the most frustrating season of my entire life because I swear I watched them play and I'm like, this is not a bad team, and yet we don't win. So by definition, we are a bad team. But also, I swear to God, there's a good team in there somewhere. But also, I'm sick of waiting for it to come out. So screw it. I guess we are a bad team. That's like basically how I felt about Ohio State.
Bruce Thornton is a dude, and man, and like I'm even looking at like Sean McNeil, like shoot the ball, like what are you doing? And I'm like you have like even guys like Tanner Holden off the bench, like that guy is a talent.
He's like a 20 point per game scorer. It's close to it, I think, at Wright State last year, right? Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Even the transfer from Oklahoma State, like he's such a good glue guy. They have all the makings.
Yeah.
They had, because they're not going to get to that point, all the makings to make some run in March. But for some reason, the pieces refused to gel. Refused. They're like, you know what? I refuse to do well.
Fletcher Lawyer hit the buzzer beater against us at home, and that did it. I think at that point we all just threw our hands up and said, we suck. I guess I don't know what happened.
We did rob Rutgers of a win.
We did rob Rutgers. That's basically like the moment we robbed Rutgers. I think the basketball god said, "That's it. That's all you get this year."
Exactly.
We should talk about Maryland a little bit, I guess. Maryland is, you want to believe in Maryland, but also literally the only 2 wins they have on the road this year are against Minnesota and Louisville, who are 2 of the worst power conference teams in the country. Maybe 2 of the 3, throw Cal in there. Like they're horrendously bad. And so like this team cannot win outside away from home. And then I would be willing to like buy into like they're a great home team and they're awesome at home, but I watched every second of that UCLA beatdown as well. So I'm like, that kind of taints like the idea that like, we're awesome at home and we're untouchable. Where do you stand on this Maryland team?
I like him. I like Jameer Young. He's legit. I like their shooting guards, whoever they want to play, whether it's Don Carey or if it's I believe it's Martinez. But I like Akeem. I'm a believer in Akeem Hart. Very underrated player, about 6'8" wing. He just does a little bit of everything. Very efficient. Whenever you need Maryland to do something good, it's usually him. Yeah. Whether it's hitting a 3, making a block, taking the ball down the paint, hitting free throws when they matter. Dante Scott at one point was playing like an all Big Ten player. Julian Reese, I'd like to call him like Trace Jackson Davis light, low cal, TJD. They have the backcourt and they have the pieces to go to like around a 32 Sweet 16. But I think they're going to be overwhelmed by any type of legit pro they see on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Or like a really good defensive team.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like, I feel like they don't do anything super well. They're like they're like B+ at everything. And at a certain point, you're going to have to turn that up. And I don't know. I'd like to be surprised.
I don't think they have the personnel to, which is fine. It's
Yeah.
Willard's first year. But like, what the hell was Mark Turgeon doing? Like,
I know.
Hey, but what were you doing?
Never forget Mark Turgeon quit on his team and then blamed the fans on his way out. And he said, everyone's booing me. And it's your fault. And it's like, yeah, we're booing you because you suck, dude. That's why we're booing you. I guess Iowa would be a team we should maybe talk about a little bit. Just like my Iowa scouting report is just they are the all-time make shots team. Like, watch the first 5 minutes. If Iowa's hitting, they're going to be pretty good. If they're not, just pack it in and that's it. They're done.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
Peyton Sanford is the epitome of hot or cold.
Yeah,
he's either gonna go 0 for 10 or he's gonna go like 9 for 12
and
light you up. You could see him just not make a shot, and then you could see him against Michigan State just go absolutely bananas. You want to see him to be more consistent. Chris Murray is going to be a pro. He's been really good this year. Basically, left-handed light Keegan.
Yep.
He's not as aggressive as Keegan was, but he could still do a lot of damage at all three levels. Tony Perkins has picked his game up a bit too on both ends, being more of a brute and less finesse. He's been able to really, get in the paint, get some big offensive rebounds, and just be more tough. And of course, the McCaffrey brothers as well. Those two guys, they've got to be good, of course. Patrick McCaffrey, you wanted him to be more aggressive because he's so he's 6'8", but he is really, really athletic, and he doesn't show it as much as he should. But the chances of them winning or losing, I think it's going to be rest on Sanford a lot.
Yeah,
because when he's making shots, it opens up game. It opens up the game for Murray, and Rabracha is just probably the most underrated big in the league. Be able to just open up the game for him too.
I took a big swing on Iowa, I think, when I filled out my bracket last year. I was a big believer. I know that Fran McCaffrey has never really done anything in the tournament, but I just felt like the way the tournament works, there's always a coach that quote unquote can't get it done, and then he does get it done. So I was like, I don't know. I like this Iowa team. I like Chris and Keegan and the boys, and I was like, screw it. I'm going to believe in them. And then they lost to Richmond immediately because they couldn't hit a goddamn three. And I feel like, so this year I'm bailing on them, and this might be the year they actually make the run because I'm going to have them lose in the first round. And
no matter what,
they're going to screw. But that's how they are. It's just like you can just watch the first 5. I swear to God, you just watch like the first 5 to 10 minutes. And if they're hitting, you're like, all right, well, they can beat anybody tonight. And if they're not, they could lose to. They lost at home to Nebraska to close the season. Nebraska's not bad though. I guess we'll wrap it up like this. Bubble watch. We have Wisconsin, it's Rutgers on the bubble, Michigan on the bubble, Penn State. I guess technically they're probably out. They got a lot of work to do.
I think they're in.
You do?
Penn State's in. Yeah, I think Penn State's in.
Oh, that would be awesome, dude. I love Shrewsbury. I would love for Penn State to be in.
I love Shrew. This is Shrew's last year there, probably, because
Notre Dame.
Get him.
Notre Dame.
He should go somewhere else.
I want him in Notre Dame so bad.
He would do well there because there's not a lot of expectations, but he'll get a lot of support.
He's an Indiana guy too, and he's I don't know.
I can see that.
Yeah. But of that little bubble range, like if one of these teams you have to say is going to win the Big Ten tournament, I'll define it for you: Wisconsin, Rutgers, Michigan, Penn State. One of those 4.
Michigan and Penn State are going to be the ones.
Yeah. Okay.
That could do it.
Okay.
Because I just think that Rutgers is not playing good right now.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin has to play on day 1, and they also nobody's afraid of Wisconsin. And that's not me hating, but when Iowa State saw Wisconsin was going to be in the round of 32, probably.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And I don't think Colgate was afraid of them either. They just don't scare you from like an athletic standpoint.
This Wisconsin team's just not fun either. Like the Wisconsin fans I know do not enjoy watching this team. They do not they're not inspired when they watch. It's just like a chore to watch them. I think that should matter when you're doing the selection committee, you know, like which teams are fun and which ones aren't. If it comes down to it and it's Penn State or Wisconsin, Penn State's fun, Shrewsbury's fun. They play a fun style. It doesn't always make the most sense. They're so extreme with the threes, and they don't crash the glass at all. They don't drive the basketball at all except to set up shooters. But damn it, it's fun to watch sometimes, you know? And it's like, just throw them in there, man. Let's have some fun. Don't throw a Wisconsin team in there that, like, even Wisconsin fans are like, I don't know if I want to watch this anymore. So you're right. Yeah. I think it's Penn State or Michigan.
Wisconsin has 6 wins in 2 months, by the way.
That's crazy.
6 wins in 2 months. They are really struggling. When Tyler Wall went down initially, they have been really bad. I believe they're like 6-11 or something like that. It's been bad. Really.
Do you ever go to the Big Ten tournament? Do you have any memories? Like, what are your memories of the Big Ten tournament? Playing, going, otherwise?
Here's a memory. Okay. Well, like, okay, as you know, if you're playing Division I basketball, you never get to see other games, right? I thought one of the coolest things was one year we had just won, and we were able to watch Michigan State versus Ohio State play. And I'm sitting there about 3 rows away, right? I'm watching this game. And I'm watching these guys jump and go, move and run and all this stuff. And I'm sitting here, and I turn to my team. I'll never forget it. I turned to CJ Lee, and I go, "Do we move that fast and jump that high?" And he's like, "Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro, what we do."
Because you never get that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get that chance to sit as a fan,
right?
Or just sit just to watch,
right?
And I'm seeing these guys, their elbows are by the glass, and I'm like, bro, they're jumping so high. I'm seeing this, like, I'm watching like their 4-man like sprint across the court. I'm like, yo, he's moving.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, we move that fast.
I have no illusions about how good I was at basketball. I know I sucked, but like, I obviously would practice with the team, and like I could hold my own in some regard or whatever. The older I get, and I get, if I go sit courtside or sit behind the bench in an Ohio State game or something, the more I have that same thought where I'm like, I used to be able to like kind of hang with these dudes a little bit, like in practice. Like, I used to be able to, like, how the hell did that ever happen? Oh my God. It's like, it blows your mind sometimes.
It does.
And again, I want to say, I'm not saying that I hung with them. I don't mean it like that. Everyone listening,
but you were on the same court. You were not a traffic cone.
Yeah, I was.
Traffic cone.
Yeah.
There are a lot of traffic cones out here.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people who will go out there and literally be a negative.
I used to have to like guard like Dallas Lauderdale, if you remember him at Ohio State. He was 6'9", like 2. I used to have to guard him in practice, and like, I'm not saying I'd shut him down or anything like that, but like, that was something that the coaches would look at me and say with a straight face, "You're gonna guard Dallas today in practice." I just go, "Okay, cool." And I look back on that, I'm like, how the hell did that ever? How did that ever happen? One last thing I wanted to say while I got you. One thing I really appreciate about you is you're a basketball guy. You're not a college basketball guy. You're not an NBA guy. And at a time where I feel like basketball culture is just getting so divided, and and part of it's like the way the games are played at each level, or it's almost unrecognizable when you watch NBA versus college. But somehow, somewhere along the line, it's become very frustrating for me, because when I was growing up, I never would have said like I love college basketball. I would have said I love basketball. There's a basketball game on, I'm watching. I don't care if it's NBA, college, high school. I don't care. I just love basketball. And somewhere along the line, it feels like you have to like now pick a side and say, I prefer the NBA or I prefer college, and then you have to fight on the internet about which one's better and why it's better. And one thing I've always appreciated about you is that you'll talk about you seem to, maybe I'm misreading it, but I get the sense that like you're the same way I am, where you're like, I just love the sport, and that's pretty cool, because I feel like you're a rare breed these days.
I love hoop, and a big reason why I can appreciate all levels is because I do pay attention to the NBA draft a lot. So I am dipping into high school quite a bit, even like middle school as well, just to see if there's any gems out there. And I like to follow how kids are progressing or not progressing, or what happened to some kids. Like someone like Koa Pete, who's one of the best sophomores in the country. I've been following him since he was like 7th or 8th grade. Something like that. That's why I can appreciate all levels, because I've been watching most of these guys since they've been 12, 13, 14 years old. Not everybody has to do that. It's not a competition, but it's hilarious because like NBA is more of a reality show than basketball.
I know. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. It drives me crazy.
It's all about the next take,
I
right?
know.
With college basketball, it's more about the game itself.
Yeah, like I remember when the NBA was, this is a crazy concept, but there was once upon a time where the NBA was like, what if we took all the best college basketball players and put them in a professional league and they played against each other? And that was the conceit of the NBA. And I was like, that sounds pretty sick. I like that league. And somewhere along the line, it's like, yeah, like you said, it's like a lifestyle brand now that's like also a reality show. But when it gets down to it and you're just like watching the basketball, and now we're like past this all-star break, and like guys are actually, now I guess guys are going to start trying, and now like the games matter. It's fun. It's a great league. I love it. But it's just like, man, you got to wade through some of this bullshit to get there.
The talent is so good right now in the league. It's so good. And you're seeing so many really good players coming up. So I think the league is in really good hands so far.
Awesome. Really and we'll have to do this again, man. I appreciate you making time, and everyone go follow him at it's Ant Wright on Twitter. Did I got that correct? You're the best, dude. Like I mean that genuinely. Like I kind of kicked myself for not following you earlier and getting caught up in the whole Carson Trey Burke deal, because
it's all good.
I love just like, you know, I'll just throw on a random Big Ten game and I'm just kind of watching on my couch, and then I'll see your tweeting about it and just puts a smile on my face because I just feel like I'm watching along with you. So you're the man. Thanks for making time for us.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you to John Fanta. Thank you to Ant Wright. Fun guys. Would love to have both of them on the show more moving forward. They're great. That's all that needs to be said about them. Also great, the Barstool Sportsbook and Casino. It is the best place to find exclusive odd boosts, custom offers, and promotions. We have tons of ways to bet. Daily odds boost with your favorite Barstool personalities. There's live in-game bets across all league. Move the line plus teasers and parlay plus to bet within same games or across sports. It is easy to navigate, easy to use, data and content to keep you informed. There's easy and secure registration. There are many different ways to deposit and quickly withdraw your money. Plus, iCasino, Barstool Casino, is available in select states. They have slots. They have traditional table games. They have exclusives like one-bite slots. Download the Barstool Sportsbook and Casino app today. Create an account. $1,000 new player bonus. If your first bet loses, you get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. The Barstool Sportsbook and Casino. Go download now. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And now, here are Josiah Johnson and Zach Schwartz. All right, joining me now are the hosts of Out of Pocket on Buckets. It is Josiah Johnson and Zach Schwartz. Josiah, you might know, he also does Gil's Arena. That's what we're calling it. What a great name for a podcast, by the way. With Gil
thank you very much.
Yeah,
I didn't come up with it, but I'll take full credit because nobody will check it. Nobody will verify.
Josiah hosts that with Gilbert. Zach is Zach, you're a former. I just want to say this. Like I could have gone into all the other things you're doing, but like to me, who you are is you're a former Ringer coworker that hammers beers with me at the beach and/or golf course. So that's how I'm going to intro you.
I tell people that when we golf, it's just hit nukes, smoke cigars, and drink beers. No scores are capped.
That's all we do, man. So Josiah played at UCLA. Zach was a manager at Arizona State. You're my Pac-12 guys. I'm bringing you on to preview this Pac-12 tournament. My first question is, remind me, how does it work? If you win the Pac-12 tournament, does that mean you have to stay in the conference, or does that mean you're allowed to leave now? Like, how does that?
Big Ten, let's get it. We're Big Ten brethren now, my guy.
What's going? Like, what is the? I mean, obviously, Josiah, you're repping a team that's bouncing for the Big Ten, so you probably have like zero Pac-12 pride. So I'll ask. I guess this first question is for Zach. Like, what is the state of the Pac-12 right this second? Where's the brand that is known as the Pac-12?
I'm a Big 12 guy now. I'm buying up land in Texas and just hoping that they jump ship because things are not going to work out well. I think ASU never plays well at the Pac-12 tournament. That's like no secret. And I think the part that hurts even more as you go, and it is Arizona travels so fucking well for it. Joe and I were talking about this at the UCLA game. Like, it is Arizona's tournament. They go there. There's a fucking million Wildcat fans, and it's not fun to be there.
Yeah, you guys both hate Arizona.
They don't have jobs. You can't go all 4 days. Dog. Like every game is like, I'm just looking around like, damn, you guys really like Tucson is your life. A lot of T locals, as we call them.
Joe, how do you feel about the Big Ten move at this point? Where are you at with it?
I think, I'm happy about it. Like you said, no allegiance to the Pac-12. I'm a Pac-10 guy, not really familiar with this new conference. A lot of different stuff going on, but have a great relationship with the UCLA athletic director, Martin Jarmon. And at first, I'm gonna be real. Like when it first happened, I'm like, I'm not really psyched for this like Rutgers game in the middle of November for the football squad. And, I mean, no disrespect to Piscataway, New Jersey. I'm sure it's a great city. I was born in Trenton, but but I think the amount of money is going to bring in. They're going to do a lot more chartering, which is another thing I was blown away by. I was talking to a former UCLA player, a football player recently. It's like we didn't charter back in my day. We were straight Southwest flights. Like, you had the 7-footers in the extra. I mean, honestly, it was like,
so are we.
Southwest to Tucson, Southwest to Tempe, or the Phoenix, Southwest. Wherever they would fly, we were a lot of Alaskan, but real janky economy seats. We only chartered for the tournament, so we didn't know that life. We thought it was normal to have 3 7-footers
I didn't
in the
realize
exit row,
that.
knees between their face, like that was just a normal thing. Now, granted, we were taking middle of the day Southwest flights, and we were getting B group. I'm not gonna say that A group. We weren't getting priority love, but B group, so we could get a pretty decent seat. But it was definitely super janky. So I think this Big Ten move gonna bring a lot more bread in. Hopefully, raise the profile of UCLA. People don't really respect the Pac around the country. Unfortunately, we play a lot of obviously 7:30, 8 o'clock games. You guys are probably tucked in bed sleeping at that point, so you don't get to appreciate the greatness of West Coast basketball. But nonetheless, I think this Big Ten move is going to be great.
I living in LA for the last 4 years, I tried to. I thought, I remember when I moved out there, I was like,
tried.
Yeah, I know that's exactly what happened.
Tried is the right word.
I remember when I moved out there, I was like, well, this will be fun because I'll get to follow college programs that I haven't been following. Because as Josiah just said, when I was living in Ohio, I'd go to bed early and I wouldn't watch a lot of the West Coast games. So I was like, this will be fun. I'll be able to plug in. And then you just go to every bar in LA and you're like, you guys are going to throw on the UCLA basketball game? And they're like, what? No.
There's a game on?
There's not.
Matlock reruns.
Yeah, Matlock reruns.
Gladiators. You're getting
music videos from the 1980s that are just playing in loops at bars. And you're like, what the fuck what's going on here? So I guess let's talk about where the Pac-12 is. These specific teams. I don't need to point this out to you guys. It is a very top heavy league. UCLA. Yeah. I think and do we have word on Jalen Clark? MRR is not. It's an Achilles. It's an Achilles, right? It's gonna be an Achilles.
Was that the game? Was that Arizona game? He dipped off, came back. I talked to a couple of my sources with the UCLA basketball program. It ain't looking good.
It's not good. Before
that the very vague lower leg injury is always damn.
I know.
Yeah.
I even as I'm thinking through it, you're like, even what is the best case scenario anyway? It's even if he didn't tear his Achilles, it's not like he's gonna play, in this tournament.
Yeah.
So he's out. But the Bruins were looking like the best team in the country. That's what I was feeling as I'm watching the Arizona game. This is a team UCLA to me, Josiah was a team that I thought was really, really good. I just kept waiting for the good teams that they had played up until this past week. You had lost to, frankly. You had no bad losses, but it was the 2 early games in Vegas. You lose to Arizona, you lose to USC, and at that point you're like, all right, I'm talking myself into this team being one of the best teams in the country. I need to see them against one of the other best teams in the country. And what does that look like? Unfortunately, in the Pac-12, not a ton of opportunities. Then against Arizona. You're looking like it, and then Jalen Clark gets hurt, and I don't know where I'm left with it, but I still think this is a national title good team. You're a guy you're obviously UCLA lifer. You've seen a lot of good, bad, and otherwise UCLA basketball. What is the vibe of this team? What is the expectation? Where are you at with all that?
Well, I mean, definitely losing a guy like Jalen Clark is not something you want to really have going into the Pac-12 tournament, into the NCAA tournament. But I think what really this squad is all about is a testament to their senior leadership. So Jaime Jaquez Jr., who was just named Pac-12 Player of the Year, been playing like an absolute killer. It's funny, I was talking to my dad about him at the game. My dad's like, yo, you think he's a pro? I'm like, look, man, this kid, like, he can play all game. He has a knack for the ball, which is a unique skill set. Several times in that Arizona game, should have been turnovers. He somehow found his way to the ball, kept the possession alive, gets buckets. Him and Tubelis were going at each other. And Tubelis is another dude I got a tremendous amount of respect for, 6'11", with a nice bag, looking like a young Arvydas Sabonis, albeit a store brand version. I'm not going to, disrespect Arvydas like that. But senior leadership with Jaime Jaquez Jr., Tiger Campbell, and David Singleton, who's like a super senior. Just three guys who really embody what UCLA is all about, really represent the team well, and really personify what Mick Cronin is as a head coach. And think about Mick. Mick is a tough dude, and a lot of guys can't play for him. I've been to several games, seen some recruits who ended up going to other schools like Arizona State. 10 games where Mick is getting into dudes' asses, and it's like, I'm looking at that kid like, oh, yeah, he's not coming here.
Yeah.
Blessed to go to Arizona State.
You didn't miss that much, though. Let me tell you. That kid, you didn't miss that much. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure you guys can infer, but Mick's super hard ass, but he has enough of these guys' respect and attention. They respect him as well. Where I think, look, this team, obviously, we love Jalen Clark. He's balled his ass off this year. He was big in us in games. At times during the season, the best player on the team. But you have what you have, and I think this squad has enough to make a run and go out there and do something special. And I think, with Jaime and Tiger, what they really mean to this program and just their senior leadership, and David Singleton as well, is going to be enough, hopefully, to get us over the hump. We've got a Dembona, super freshman coming in, just long, lanky, wiry, doing things. We're solid at pretty much every position. So I think Mick's going to have these guys' mind right. And I'm curious to see if they're going to employ the Lute Olson approach to the Pac-12 tournament, where Lou was basically like, fuck this tournament.
Shit.
Dude,
we're taking an L Thursday and getting back to the crib.
We've been so we're doing I'm doing all these conference tournament previews on the show. You guys are the last guys I've talked to. We've done all the other 5 like power conferences. And this is like a theme that just keeps coming up in every one of these previews we're doing, is like trying to figure out who's trying to actually win this tournament.
Sandbagging.
And who's sandbagging it, like trying to get ready for March. I'm with you. It does sort of feel like, I guess, like Arizona State, you guys have to win. Obviously, you're on the bubble.
Have to win.
But that's the issue, is there's only so many teams that can win this, because it's like, it's USC, it's UCLA, it's Arizona State, it's Arizona. I guess Oregon, throw them in there.
Oregon's always like frisky there, and that's always like
they're always good at this thing, aren't they?
Yeah, it's very annoying. I mean, to finish off the UCLA thing, I went to dinner with the staff after the UCLA game, the ASU staff, and I was like, dude, you guys played them so well, and they were kind of like, yeah, man, but like, that's UCLA. Like, they're just basically like, dude, that team is a juggernaut. They're deep. This is before obviously Jalen Clark got hurt, but yeah, that UCLA team, I still think is juggernaut. And they're like not even using, was it Amari Bailey, like barely even plays?
Yeah.
And it's like, you can throw him in.
I forgot he was on the team for a second.
Yeah. I know, yeah. You let him try and be, Captain Chaos in the tournament if you want. And
when your next man up is a 5-star, that's a good spot to be in,
Yeah,
I feel like they went from, we expect to win the national championship, to like, we still can win the national championship. Like, sure. It's not like, I don't think you should expect it given the circumstances. It's not like if they don't win at all, it's a failure of a year. But they could still. I still really love this team for reasons you said, Josiah. Like, Hami's incredible. David Singleton, by the way, and I'm not just saying this because you brought him up. He's my favorite player in college basketball. I don't know what it is about the man. He does not miss. Every time I watch him play, he does not. I've never seen him miss a shot ever in his 6-year career that we're in. He does not miss. So, it's incredible.
Let me tell you some David Singleton stuff, just so I can sing his praise. He actually went to high school with my younger brother, Cyrus. But the thing about David Singleton, if you live in LA and you work out anywhere in the LA area, you are bound to run into David Singleton and his dad getting it in. I'm fat now. I'm washed. I'm worn up. I was doing beach workouts in Playa del Rey a couple years ago to try to get back in the swing of things. Every time we pull up, him and his pops had already been there for an hour, speed ladders, doing all types of crazy stuff. So he's a dude. I think, a story early on, like his freshman year, he slept in the gym just because he loves, he slept in Poly Pavilion early on in his career just because he loves basketball that much. So he's a guy that I really feel like represents just the heart and soul of this team and what he's able to bring. And every time he shoots that thing, it's a wetter, man. It's definitely a beautiful thing to see. I'm
telling you, I love to hear that. I really do. I'm not lying. He's like my favorite. There's just something about, like, he does not miss. I've never seen this man miss.
Good demeanor too. No matter whether he's playing, he's not playing, he's always locked in. He's ready to go. and again, a guy that you want to have on your squad.
Yeah, if I was an NBA GM, I think I'd get fired because I would use my first round pick like drafting Davis.
Hey, but honestly, we joke, but he could change the culture of a locker room.
He can,
hard. He goes hard, man. He works his ass off.
I'll be rooting for him. That's exciting to hear all that. Zach, let's talk about your team a little bit. Arizona State. We'll
Sure.
get to the others, but let's knock out the teams that you guys represent first.
Absolutely.
You crack me up. You are my Arizona State representative. You're the one friend I have that went there. You're the one friend that represents Arizona State. And you are consistently wrong about Arizona State basketball in a way that like it's almost impressive because when you text me like we're a fucking wagon, let's go. We got UCLA tonight. It's a dub. I know the wheels are falling off. I know. Here we go.
Yeah.
Arizona State's about to lose 4 in a row. But then the opposite's true too. And like when Arizona State's sucking and it's not looking good, you're always like, dude, fire everybody. I hope all these kids transfer. And then you start winning games that you shouldn't. So with that being said, tell us where you're at now on Arizona State so everyone can go bet the opposite.
Listen, yeah, fade me. That's the real answer. Just fade every fucking thing I say on here. They obviously, I think, got to win. I think they have to win 2 games at the Pac-12 tournament minimum if they have any hope of making the tourney. They did themselves no favors. I mean, they lose to SC and UCLA. The UCLA one, like I get it. That team is an absolute juggernaut. It's really difficult to beat back-to-back top 10 teams on the road. But you probably should have taken care of business with USC. I think that in their minds, once Oregon won and it basically locked up the last bye seed in the Pac-12 tournament, they were kind of like, yeah, fuck this shit. But I think they'll play. I think these guys really like Bobby, and I think he has a good grasp on them, but then they just kind of get out of control. The same shit happened against UCLA. Like there is a little bit of a lack of cohesion sometimes to them that doesn't always feel like they have or know who to give the ball to if they need a bucket. Like even Devin Cambridge being the guy that hit that buzzer beater against Arizona felt sort of random, but again, he was second team Pac-12. So I don't know, man. I think if they can make it into the tournament, it's one of those teams where it's like, if all of a sudden they won 2 or 3 games in the tourney, I'd be like, yeah, dude, Hurley did it. But I can't do that. I can't tell you that. I think it's going to be at best a one and done kind of first 4 from them. I can't do this to myself.
Why does Mick work as a fiery short dude that is yelling all the time and yelling at the refs, yelling at the players, yelling at fans, yelling at everybody? Like when Mick Cronin does it, I'm like, that's a great basketball coach. That's his guy. He's getting his guys going. And when Bobby Hurley does it, I'm like, what the hell is this clown doing?
I think it's like time. It's timing. Like Bobby getting the tech against UCLA, the timing was so bad. Yeah. Like the team clearly looked rattled. They just blown a 10-point lead at Pauley Pavilion. Don't get a tech. And also, like, I think Bobby is not liked by the Pac-12 officials already. So I think it makes it very easy for them. And I hope they
you're
make
right.
the tournament.
Mick picks his spots a little better, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Bobby doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Mick's like 5'7" too, though. So
yeah,
Mick's 5'7". I don't think when he yells at you, that you can end his life. Like that's pretty much.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, everybody on that team, refs, everybody. Like if I square off with Mick, I'm lacing him. So I do literally, have to lower it down a little bit. Whereas Bobby Hurley actually hoops, whatever it is. But yeah, he's kind of. Bobby seems a little bit more weirder.
Bobby, it's the hands behind my back shit drives me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, you're still calling them a dickhead. But when you put your hands behind your back, you're like,
well, I kind of respect it because like it sort of feels like that's his way of trying to tell everybody I'm actually under control. Because if you're not under control, your arms are just flying everywhere and you might punch people, whatever. But if you have your hands behind your back, in his mind, he's like, I'm respectful. I mean, I do this when I go, the rare times in my life I've ever gone to like an art museum. You just instinctively put your hands behind your back and you're trying to tell like the security people, I'm not going to touch these paintings. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So I think that's a strategy is like, I can say whatever the fuck I want. As long as my hands are behind my back, they're not going to care. It doesn't work, but he keeps doing it.
Sir, I'm here to
doesn't work.
appreciate fine art.
Yeah.
That is it.
Exactly.
Arizona. So UCLA, Arizona. Those are obviously the top two teams of this conference. The two with real national title ambitions. Yeah, go ahead.
Azulis Tubelis, his game reminds me, he's like a tall version of John Brockman. Like, I don't know how this is going to work in the pros, but man, all he does is clean glass and put the ball back. Like,
are you insane? No.
I watched a highlight of his the other day, and it was, I'm not joking, 3/4 of it was him shooting free throws. I don't come on.
But that's not him. That's whoever edited that video put his. What are you talking about?
He's got a little bag, Zach. You got to watch a little more.
So did John Brockman. I don't mean this is a diss.
But
John
Brockman
was
like
a machine.
6'8", right?
Yeah.
Brockman's like, Tubelis is like 6'11",
6'11", for sure.
Was Brockman leading the break? Was Brockman the best point guard on his team? Because I think Tubelis might be the best point guard on the team. I think I trust Tubelis running like the offense more than I trust Kirk Creasy.
You mistake this as slander when this is really coming from a place of like John Brockman was that dude. Oh, yeah, in my opinion.
What you're saying is you love John Brockman. You're not trying to.
Yes.
No knock to Brockman, but if you told Tubelis that, he probably want to fight you. I'm just saying.
For sure he would.
You ain't got a better comp, dog? Give me Arvidas.
Yeah, that's there.
Yeah. Zach, you're the Arizona hater. How worried are you that Arizona has the goods to? You're not.
Nah, man, they do it every year. Every year, I have to like momentarily like tighten the belt because I'm nervous they're gonna fucking do it, and then lo and behold, they blow it in 16 Elite Eight. I don't think they're making the Final Four, but like, I don't know. I think UCLA is the better team. I think I don't know. I'm not that worried about it this year. Right. There have been years I've been more worried, and it will hurt me. It will hurt me so bad, Mark. It will be bad.
Here's the hovering jig, my friends. The hovering jig is that I think Arizona's AD is on the selection committee. And as we all know, the tournament's a farce. It's never, these seeds mean nothing. They do the most janky shit, pair you with the teams that you're not capable of beating. But what I will say for a team like Arizona State, which I think you guys are the 5 seed, right? So we'd see you in the semis. I wouldn't even mind if you got that dub to get in the tournament, because when the Pac gets in the tournament, we do bust ass. And that's just a normal thing for us. And I think we always get hated on. There's always a West Coast bias. But when we get out there and do our thing, our style of play, you know what I mean, is very indicative for the tournament. But with the caveat, if we get screwed with those seedings, which at this point now, when they do the 5-12 shit, it's all just a lie. It's like, bro, these aren't real 12 seeds. They're trying to create this upset and this myth. And I'm glad as I've started to get into sports betting and that whole world where it's like, yo, because a couple of years ago, people were packing me up like, they weren't even favored. Like, bro, I don't know. I just look at seeds, dog. I'm still like, cool mentality. Like, that's not it. They weren't even the favorite in Vegas. So I know now that's where I've got to look at to really get a better sense of what these games actually mean.
Yeah, remember a couple years ago, the Pac-12 had there's 3, right? It was Oregon State, USC, and UCLA in the Elite Eight. That was the same. Yeah, because Oregon.
Was that bubble year?
Yeah, bubble year. And then in the moment for like 24 hours, we were like, damn, maybe the Pac-12 doesn't suck. And then after that, the moment that tournament ended, everyone's like, yeah, the Pac-12 sucks. Yeah, like it went immediately back to your point, as you said at the top, Josiah, that like no matter what happens, no one's like the way the Big Ten hasn't won a title obviously since 2000. The Pac-12 hasn't won since '97. Basically the same at this point. It's basically the same drought.
Yeah,
hot boo boo.
But the Big Ten. You're not allowed to say the Big Ten sucks. I mean, some people do, but like the Big Ten, like everybody will gladly say the Pac-12 is terrible, and
Big Ten basketball, you live that world. That shit is boring as shit. Like Wisconsin.
Well, hold on.
The year is 2023. Pick up the pace, Chief. I don't need
Josiah,
to see a 50-point game.
I said it so you didn't have to. That doesn't mean you then take it to the next level. Like I shit on the Big Ten so you wouldn't. I was trying to beat you to the punch.
We're going to come and prove it for you. But think about what we're bringing now. We're going to pick up the pace. We're going to get those games into the 80 range. They don't have to go to double.
You know what? And Mark, you could watch an ASU game and it'll be a 50-point game, but we're going to shoot and miss 53s. We're going to and there's some excitement in that, all right?
You're going to try at least. You're not going to run the clock for 28 seconds. Enough of that shit. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get these dudes, and this is my bigger problem with coaches though in college. Like they're just trying to keep their jobs. Enough of that.
Right.
Get these dudes to the league. Let them get used to the style they're going to play when they go to the pros.
Right. Yeah, Arizona. It was. I'm with you, Zach. Like I don't think you have to. Like Arizona last year was way better than this team. Way better.
For sure.
I don't.
Way scarier.
I think Arizona might have the best front court in the country with Ballo and Tubelis. But I don't. I think eventually Kerr Kriisa is going to shoot them out of games. I've been consistent with that. At some point, Kerr Kriisa is going to. It's
fair.
Kerr Kriisa is the meme where it's like it's Kerr Kriisa time in quotes, and then it's attributed to Kerr Kriisa. You know, like that's what he's telling himself at all times. And I think it's going to come back to bite him. But I don't know if you guys are saying like maybe they win the Pac-12 tournament and then they like start feeling themselves. And I don't know what their destiny is, but I don't
agree with you, bro.
Yeah, they're obviously a very good team. I think Tommy Lloyd's awesome. I think he's
such a good coach.
He's gonna.
Do you know how upsetting that is? Do you know how upsetting that is that I'm like, finally, they're dead. I
think he is going to win a national championship at some point.
He will.
Yeah, he will. But
he's going to be in that Gonzaga boat, Chief. He's just a little nicer Gonzaga. Let's just be real.
I think the funniest outcome is he meets Mark Few in the national title game and beats him, right? Like that's Mark Few never wins one and then he loses again. This time to his.
I love chaos and I love white on white crime. So that'd be a
I guess the one of the last teams we should talk about is USC. The USC team that got the Andy Enfield special to start the season where he threw the game against his old Florida Gulf Coast team, and I kind of cast USC off as like, like they got some dudes. Boogie Ellis is fun. Drew Peterson is. Do you guys hate Drew Peterson? Where do you stand on him? Who's the most hateable guy? Would you say in the Pac-12? Kerr Kriisa,
I don't
Drew
watch
Peterson?
SC.
Yeah, Kerr.
Kerr's getting up there.
Yeah.
Look, bro, I don't care if your first name's Kerr. Put your last name on the back of your jersey.
That's
just
true.
Like
that's true.
In this conference, dog.
That is true. I need to.
Again, I'm at the game.
I want to get Steve Kerr some truth serum and ask him how he feels about that. About Kerr Kriisa wearing Kerr 25 at Arizona, because Steve Kerr publicly is probably just like, oh, it's cool. I appreciate that he loves me so much and wants to honor me. Privately, I bet he's like, this guy's not even gonna play in the league, dude. Like we're letting this guy.
All I'm saying is like, oh, he's a big Steve Kerr fan. So what, bro? I'm a big LeBron fan. I'm not putting LeBron on the back of my jersey.
Right.
I get it's your name, Chief. I get it. But I went to the game a couple years ago. I'm like, yo, is this Steve Kerr's kid? It's like, oh, no, his last name's Kriisa, but whatever. Then I go to the game this year with a buddy, and he's like, yo, is he related to Steve Kerr? I'm like, yo, we can't have this level of confusion anymore. Put Kriisa on the back of that 25. So, that's my rant.
Back to USC. They beat both your teams at some point this year. They kind of handled UCLA, Josiah, in at the game in at USC. So it's been up and down a little bit for them. They're obviously going to make the tournament. You think they're just kind of like a mid team? Is that the read I'm getting on?
This is my thing across the board, and I'll always say it about the tournament. It's about getting hot at the right time, right? But it's also about matchups, right? We see this every single year, and you have a good team that runs into that squad that they just can't play against. They can't play against that style, whatever it may be. So SC is a team that could easily make a run, could easily go further than UCLA or SC, again, just depending on how these seedings and matchups go. Actually, I'll take it back. They can go further than Arizona. I'm riding with UCLA. Get this Final Four. I'm trying to get to Houston, get out there, turn up, I want to take first.
I want to know, like, for USC as an administration, like, what is the aspirations for Andy Enfield? Like, do you think this is it? Like, this is as good as it gets? Because, like, I remember when he got hired, I knew a lot of coaches that were trying to get that SC job, and they were all very bitter, like, oh, he's not going to make it. And here he is. He's been there for a long time. They've won, and they've been successful. They haven't won a title. And I think the success is, like, it's not great. I mean, it's good. It's not great. So this is it. This is as good as it will be for
I think
USC.
The goal is just like make him relevant. Make him like when I do a Pac-12 preview, am I talking about USC or am I just skipping over them?
And that's the ceiling.
The rest of these,
What's that
Stanford? Like I'm
football school.
Stanford and Utah. We're not even going to spend a second on in this preview. Like as long as USC is not in that crop, as long as Bronny James is putting him in his final three. I think USC fans are like, we did what we could.
That's true. Those USC doubles remain great.
Oh my God.
That's a good move for Bronny.
Is the Pac-12 tournament worth going to? I've never been, as I think on. I thought I had gone,
no,
but as it turns out, I had never been.
Do you want my best Pac-12 tournament story?
Please.
We showed up and everyone stays at the MGM, and it's the same shit that you experience with every team at every tournament where you're like run into each other in the lobby and shit. But the whole team goes, cheerleaders, support staff, whatever. And when we checked into the hotel, I went to the guy at the Hakkasan desk. So while the team's checking in, I like snuck over to the Hakkasan, the nightclub, and I was like, hey, could you hook me up if I bring some of the people? And I point towards the team. He's like, I can't do it if you're bringing players. I'm like, no shit. And I like gestured towards like the cheerleaders. And he was like, yeah, if you bring some of the cheerleaders, for sure. And so I managed to convince, because a good friend of mine was on the cheerleading team, like to just bring all of them. And so I showed up with like 12 cheerleaders. The guy was like, that's great. And immediately took all of them to Dustin Johnson's table. And he was like, you cannot go to this table, but here. And he handed me like 60 drink tickets and just like left me in the club. And that's the best memory I have from the Pac-12 tournament.
Nothing to do with the basketball.
No, nothing at all. We lost the first possible game all 4 years that I was at ASU. Fuck that shit.
Great. Y'all were in Vegas, though. At least we literally had to go downtown and go stay like
true,
like a Marriott down by Staples Center. Like
it wasn't like, even the JW yet.
I live here, Chief. I can just go stay in the dorm. This is not like it wasn't JW. And I remember I was there the year. I want to say Kevin O'Neal. I don't know if he was at Arizona or I don't remember how it broke down, but he tried to fight some fans or some shit. So
that
was funny.
Was a great story. Yeah,
that was a good time.
I don't know. I think that's enough. I talked about Oregon a little bit. I said Oregon. Oregon with their seniors. I like Oregon's not good this year, but like they have like they're not even on the bubble. They have to win this thing to make the tournament. It just feels like something Oregon would do. It feels like
they will.
Yeah, it just feels like
that's just
the fact that they're a 4 seed and UCLA, as you said, Josiah, is like not really maybe as quite as interested in winning this thing. Like they beat UCLA and then now they're in the championship suddenly and they're just like, fuck it, let's just make shots now. And like, I don't know. Oregon,
I know UCLA fans are gonna try to rip me for this shit, but I'm just gonna be real. Like winning the Pac-12 tournament means nothing. Like 100 years from now, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, remember that Pac-12 tournament? What about that?"
Especially when you're moving to the Big Ten, you're like, "Who cares if we, win this?"
This is irrelevant for
you're
not
both
anymore. Like, let go.
You're incorrect.
I just want to see them waste that energy with the Thursday, Friday, Saturday slate, then have to come back Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I'm good.
If ASU won the Pac-12 tournament, I would celebrate it like I would.
Well, you'd get in though. I'm just saying, like, you'd actually get in the tournament now.
Yeah, but like, bro, we have not won the conference. We've like, dude, it is. You look around at the banners in Desert Financial Arena, which that shit needs to be knocked down. It is slim pickings as far as
it's not Wells Fargo anymore.
No, bro. That arena is dog shit. I know the coaching staff hates it. Like they don't even take recruits there. It's bad.
Do it for Kyle Dodd.
Do it for Kyle Dodd.
My final thing before I go. I was doing a little prep and Josiah, I Googled you for some reason. Like I forget what I was looking. I was trying to look up something and I just like went to Google and typed Josiah Johnson basketball, hit enter. Are you aware that there is a kid in Louisville, Kentucky named Josiah Johnson that plays basketball that has no legs? You know about this?
And more power to that kid. And I knew as soon as it happened, I got tagged probably 75 times.
No shit.
Like, oh man, you see this kid? You know this kid? Oh, he's got your name. It's okay. Like Josiah is a pretty common name. It's biblical, guys.
Yeah.
And we're growing.
Yeah.
What it used to be, there was a singer in the Head and the Heart named Josiah Johnson, living legend. And he actually hit me on Facebook probably like 15 years ago. Like, cool name. And I didn't think much of it. He went on to be a successful singer, but we used to be the two dominant Josiah Johnsons, but now we're getting pushed out the paint.
There's a Zach Schwartz. There's a Zach Schwartz that did acid and wrote an article for Vice, and that got me like someone turned me down for a job interview because it came up, and I have an Instagram group text with every Zach Schwartz, the exact same spelling on Instagram. Some fucking random kid started it, and now randomly it'll just pop off.
Do the meetup. You got to do the Zach.
I don't want any part of these weirdos.
I went on to read the article, and the thing about like kids like this with no legs that are playing basketball is they don't explain like how it works. Like they just like writing art. Like all I want to know is like how does he run up and down the court? Like I wanted someone to explain this to. So he uses his hands.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal to see. So shout out to that Josiah Johnson. I should also start a Josiah Johnson group.
Yeah, just
with white and black Josiah Johnsons alike. We can turn up.
Fellas, I appreciate you making time. talking about the Pac-12 tournament that seems like neither one of you are huge fans of, but nonetheless, it will be taking place. And
I
Get a few
say it right
nooners
now.
in me.
yeah,
I say it now, but 8 p.m. tomorrow, I'm going to be in ASU hat, ASU shirt, parked in front of the TV, pretending like my life is that and only that. So,
Zach, it's the hope that kills you, buddy. It's
every
the hope
year.
that kills you.
Every fucking year.
Thanks, fellas.
I appreciate you.
boys.
All right, thank you to Josiah and Zach. Dire times for the Pac-12. It is. It's a top-heavy league. There's no other way to say it. It's just like UCLA and Arizona. They're both good enough to win a national title. USC's a pretty good team. After that, you kind of fall off. So it's intriguing in some ways, and in other ways, in terms of depth, I would say very much not intriguing. So, let's fill out some brackets. I'm going to start with the Pac-12, I think. So, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill out all my brackets. As I said at the top, might make for terrible radio, but whatever. I am looking at brackets, and I just want to fill them out. I don't know what else to say. I just want to advance teams and take a swing and see what the hell happens. But also, I want to do the Pac-12 first because we just talked about that. And now that I'm looking at it, I realize that I kind of don't give a damn about any of these lower teams in the Pac-12. I'm looking at the Utah-Stanford game, and I don't care. 7-10 Stanford, Utah. Who cares? All right, we'll make some picks. Wednesday, March 8th, Pac-12 tournament starting. Washington, Colorado is the first game. I believe Washington won in Boulder the one time they met this year. Washington is the 8 seed. Colorado. What a game to start with, because I truly don't care. I mean, I truly do not care. Whoever is going to lose to UCLA, I'll take Colorado. Just take Colorado. The Buffs are moving on. Deion Sanders is the football coach there, and I don't know. That means nothing. But Colorado's beaten some good teams, though. Colorado beat Tennessee this year. They beat Texas A&M this year. So, yeah, they're good for one win. Washington State, California, that is a no-brainer. Washington State's going to win that. Utah, Stanford, same sort of, like, they both, the winner plays Arizona. I think they both have beaten Arizona this year, weirdly enough. I like Utah in that one. Give me Arizona State over Oregon State. UCLA versus Colorado. I think UCLA, as I told Zach and Josiah, might be the best team in the country, even if Jalen Clark is hurt. Like, they still are that good. So, UCLA is not losing that. I think they can lose in this tournament. I don't think they're losing that game. They're not losing their first game. Oregon versus Washington State is juicy because, as we were saying, Oregon is a team that wins a lot in this tournament. Washington State is hot right now. Washington State is kind of the hipster basketball program. If you know about Washington State basketball, you follow college basketball very closely. If you know that Washington State's actually not that bad, not as bad as you might think, like if you're one of those people, you're following it very closely. But I think it feels like Oregon's going to win that because Oregon just that's what they do in these games. Oregon advances in the Pac-12. I'm just trying to like forecast like what the narrative here is, and I'm really starting to talk myself into Oregon beating UCLA and Oregon like winning this whole damn thing because the Pac-12 needs more than just 3 bids. I feel like Arizona State they're just destined to be Arizona State, and this is why this is bad radio because at this point those of you listening have no idea where we're even at on the bracket, and I'm not even really sure I do either. But UCLA is going to beat Colorado. Give me Oregon over Washington State. Give me Arizona over who did I say? Utah. Give me USC, Arizona State. Give me USC is going to win that. Give me all right. So I got chalk. I think it is. I think that's how it's going to play out. I mean, it's going to be chalk. I think those 4 teams are going to be better than all the others. Give me UCLA or Oregon. I'll take Oregon to beat UCLA. And I think that's actually good for UCLA. And I think UCLA does not want to win this tournament. They don't need to win this tournament. They don't care about this tournament. Oregon has to win it. Oregon's going to be desperate. Oregon is good enough to beat UCLA. I don't think that. I got Oregon over UCLA. Arizona versus USC. USC. Give me Arizona. Give me Arizona over Oregon. That's my final. Lock me in on that. I think I covered every game. I got Arizona over Oregon in the Pac-12 tournament. There, get that out of my face now, because I don't know if I'm going to watch a second of the Pac-12 tournament, for being completely honest. All right, let's go in order of what we did the interviews now. Big 12 was first, I think. We had Fran Fraschilla on the show first, right? First game, West Virginia, Texas Tech. West Virginia, Texas Tech. Dude, my mind's all over the place. I'm not. This is what I'm learning right now. Is like I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. I sat down and I had like no notes. I was just gonna go off of gut, and now all of a sudden I'm just like Texas Tech is West Virginia is going to win this game. They have to win this game. They're on the Texas Tech's punting on their season. They just suspended Mark Adams. West Virginia I think is better anyway. And West Virginia is gonna win. So West Virginia over Texas Tech. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Bedlam basketball edition. Oklahoma is maybe the best worst team that's ever existed in a conference in college basketball history. There's never been a better team that's been considered the worst team in their own conference than Oklahoma. I like watching Oklahoma more than I like watching Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is still technically maybe on the bubble. I don't know. I haven't looked at it lately. But I think there's still a hope that they could play their way in. But I like Oklahoma in this for some reason. I just like Oklahoma is when they get going. Grant Sherfield gets going. He's a ton of fun to watch, and Oklahoma State's like just not fun, and that's really what it comes down to. West Virginia, Oklahoma are fun, so I'm having them advance on Wednesday. In the quarterfinals, we got Baylor, Iowa State, the 4-5 game. They just played. Iowa State just won in Waco. I have to believe if Baylor is truly one of the 10 best teams in the country, as we were led to believe going into that game in Waco, you're not coming off of that game and then losing to the exact same team again. Baylor is a make shots team. Baylor's a ton of fun. I've said it about Baylor all year. They don't guard as well as I want them to guard, but they are so fun, and their guards are unstoppable for the most part. So give me Baylor to beat Iowa State. Kansas is going to beat West Virginia. Texas versus Oklahoma. I like Texas is going to win that game. Texas, and then Kansas State, TCU. Oof. This is why you fill out bracket. This is why you don't talk it through, TJ. This is why I don't think this is good. I don't think this segment's working.
This is what March is.
Yeah.
You're in the mix now.
I know, I'm in it, but I'm just like the ramblings of a madman as he's staring at a blank bracket. Kansas State, TCU. What do I think is going to happen there? I think TCU is a better team. I think TCU just lost to Oklahoma, I know, but Kansas State just lost to West Virginia. That's life in the Big 12, baby. Like, good luck like using last week as an example of what next week is going to have in store. I don't think it works that way. I think TCU is the better team, so I'm picking TCU. That's my logic. So who did I pick in the Baylor Iowa State? I think I picked Baylor. Baylor, Kansas, Texas, TCU. Kansas is better than Baylor. I'm just trying to think through like the angles here of like, is Kansas trying to punt on this because they're trying to win the national championship? Who needs it more? Who wants it more? Baylor's never won a Big 12 tournament. Kansas has won a million of these things, but I think Kansas is going to win because I just said it. Kansas has won a million of these things, and they're going to continue to do that. I don't think even when Kansas doesn't want to win it, they still find a way to win it, and they're better than Baylor. That's like that's a game. I could see Kansas losing the championship, but they're going to beat Baylor if they play them in the semifinals. I think. I have to believe they're going to beat Baylor. Texas TCU. Just played in Fort Worth there. TCU got the better of them. I think Texas came away from that game thinking we're fine, we're in a good spot. Texas then whoops Kansas. Texas has been a team that I feel like is somehow flying under the radar, even though they've been highly ranked all year. Because like I talked with Fran on Monday, like Chris Beard gets fired and you just kind of cast Texas off to the side. Texas guard play is incredible. Marcus Carr is built for like he's on year 7 of doing this. Like this is what this man does. Is like when he finds himself in tournament situations, it doesn't always work out, but he's going to step up and say, I'm him. He's going to say, he looks in the mirror every single morning in March and he says, I'm him. This is what Marcus Carr does. I think Marcus Carr and Texas are going to beat TCU, and we are going to get a championship of the top 2 seeds. It is going to be Kansas. It is going to be Texas. It is going to be a rematch of the last game of the regular season that happened in Austin. when Texas beat the hell out of Kansas, except this time Kansas is going to win. Is that too much chalk? No, I had 5-1, 2-6. That's not too bad. And then a 1-2, yeah. And then Kansas wins. So there you go. There's your Big 12 tournament. ACC tournament is actually underway. Are these games? These games are going on right now, I think. Who won the Florida State Georgia Tech game?
Let me get the Georgia Tech by 1.
Wow. All right, we're recording these as I'm going to go ahead and guess that Boston College is going to beat Louisville.
It is a 1-point game.
It's a 1-point game right now?
3 minutes left in the first. It's 25-24 BC. Can you imagine? What if they make a run? What does that do?
If Louisville goes on a little bit of a... If Louisville beats North Carolina...
We talked about that with Rutherford, but
Louisville's not going to... Well, Louisville could beat Boston College. I do believe that could happen. There's 0 chance they beat North Carolina.
It's tied.
That's the problem in the second. That's the problem in the second round for them. They're not going to beat North Carolina. I could see... this is going to be outdated, but because everyone listening already knows what happened, I'm going to be wrong immediately. But Virginia Tech's going to beat Notre Dame. Boston College is still going to beat Louisville. And you said Georgia Tech beat Florida State? All right, so I'm gonna rip them off from Wednesday then. So Syracuse, Wake Forest. Wake Forest, I think, is the better team, but I kind of have talked myself into Jim Boeheim thinking he's owed a moment. Because like everyone's piling on him lately, and this is in Greensboro, and this man hates Greensboro. But then that kind of works the other way, TJ. I'm talking myself in circles now. He hates Greensboro. He wants out of Greensboro. He doesn't want to keep winning. You think this man wants to go back to his hotel in Greensboro and spend another night in this city? He hates this place. Why would he win this game? Also, like Jim Boeheim's at a point in his career where I don't think his way of sticking it to the haters is winning and then like being on top of the mountain and saying "kiss my ass." I think it's losing. And then, like, I don't think he's at war with, like, the rest of the country as much as he's at war with his own fan base right now. And instead of, like, winning and saying, "kiss my ass, you haters," I think he wants to lose and say, he wants to do the Mark Turgeon. This is all your fault. You've done, all of you Syracuse fans, you brought this on yourself. Enjoy these losses that I'm dealing up to you.
It's almost like he doesn't want to go out on, like, a last hurrah ever.
Yeah.
He just wants to be mid and stay around until the end of time.
And make all the Syracuse fans that don't respect him like he thinks they should miserable.
Give them a couple ounces of happiness every season for the next 20 years somehow.
That's the narrative I'm going off of. I talked to Mike about maybe Syracuse going on a run here, but that's not what's going to happen. Wake Forest is going to beat Syracuse. Georgia Tech, Pitt is somehow was fighting for. Pitt's not on the bubble, are they? I feel like every team in the ACC is on the bubble. We talked to this with Mike, but Pitt's on the bubble.
21-10.
Pitt's on the bubble.
Damn.
Yeah, Pitt is on the bubble. Pitt is very much on the bubble. Pitt's gonna win that game. But bubble teams in that situation, playing against a team that kind of has nothing to play for in Georgia Tech, Pitt's going to win. It might get dicey. I could see that like halftime. No, I could. That's the ACC. Pitt was. You have Clemson, who's a 3 seed. You have Pitt, who going into the final game of the season. If they won, they literally won the conference. Clemson's a 3. Clemson's not going to make the tournament unless they win this thing. And Pitt's on the bubble. It's incredible. This is the worst ACC ever. Give me Pitt though. Carolina versus Louisville or Boston College. It's going to be Boston College. Carolina's going to win that game. We already talked about it with Mike. NC State, Virginia Tech is juicy because I think Virginia Tech could be poised to. It's an attractive bracket for Virginia Tech for their style of play, for a tournament setting. For Mike Young, if I remember correctly, has had success in the past in this thing since he's taken over Virginia Tech. Did they win it? Did Virginia Tech? They didn't win it. ACC tournament list of ACC. COVID has broken me, dude. Trying to remember who's all won everything and who hasn't. Dude, Virginia Tech not only won it, they won it last year. They're the defending champions. I'm a moron. Of course they won it. They won it last year.
Yeah.
Hunter Couture, they beat Duke. They beat Duke because
they have a buzzer beater in the
Virginia Tech beat North Carolina. It was going to be Duke, North Carolina in the ACC championship.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech beat North Carolina in the semifinals and then beat Duke in the championship because we were about to get another North Carolina-Duke game, but instead we got in the Final Four. That's right, dude. Yeah, so give me Virginia Tech to beat NC State in this one. And I like Virginia Tech versus Clemson too, by the way. So Miami, Wake Forest. It's got to be Miami. Miami's not going to lose their first game in this thing. Duke versus Pitt. I do think Duke's going to win. I think that Pitt's going to play them close. Pitt's going to feel really good about it. Jason Capel is going to, or Jeff Capel, sorry. Probably Jason Capel too. He'll be loud. They're both very loud about it. But Jeff Capel will be talking in the post game about how if you watch that game that we just played and you don't think we're an NCAA tournament team, you need your head checked. And he's going to be doing a lot of that and like a lot of like moral victories that even though we lost, we actually gave Duke a pretty good game and all that sort of thing. But Duke's going to win. Virginia, North Carolina. We talked about it with Mike. I think Carolina wins. I think that's the game Carolina wins, and they say to themselves, "We're now in. This is it. We are in. Everybody kiss our ass if you said that we were on the bubble. We are not on the bubble. We just beat Virginia. Stamp it. We're going to the NCAA tournament." And then Clemson, Virginia Tech. I've worked myself. I hate brackets, dude. I hate doing this because now I'm looking at my bracket and I hate what I have. I have to put Carolina, Clemson, or Virginia Tech in the championship of this thing. This is the part where I pull out the eraser and I say we got to fix something here. The wheels are falling off for Clemson. I think Virginia Tech wins, and then all right. So we got Miami, Duke, we got Carolina and Virginia Tech in the rematch in the semifinals from last year. I think it's. How many people are still listening to this, by the way? This just feels like the ramblings of an insane person because it kind of is. We have Miami, Duke. We have Carolina and Virginia Tech. So I think it's Duke over Miami, and I think it's.
Do it.
You want it to be Duke,
Do it.
Carolina. So for the story, I think the best story, I think like the best like the fun. I'm gonna just cheer for comedy because that's what the ACC is to me this year is just comedy. That's what I'm gonna cheer for, and that's what I'm gonna put in my bracket. I think the funniest outcome would be Duke beating Carolina and then Carolina still missing the tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be a Carolina hater. People are gonna read way too much into that. I don't want to. I shouldn't even mention this. That everyone's gonna think I'm like it's some sort of shot at Tate or something. It's not. It's just like simply acknowledging the fact that like after last year to then have Duke beat Carolina 3 times and keep them from the tournament, it would be objectively funny. Would it not, TJ? That would be funny.
I'm all for the Duke UNC comedy.
And I hate Duke. I do. I don't want Duke to be. But also like I hated the iteration of Duke where Coach K was there and he was. You know, like I don't know if the jury's still out on how much I hate this John Shire Duke era.
I guess it's like a good story for college basketball on like a wider scope too. Like, hey, pass the torch. I don't know.
I think that would be funny. I think that's funny.
I would laugh.
I would certainly laugh if that happened. So give me Duke over Carolina. All right, SEC, Mississippi State, Florida. I'm taking Florida because. Brandon Walker has made me watch Mississippi State. I've watched more Mississippi State basketball in my life this year than the rest of my life combined. I will never forgive Brandon for that. I do believe in Chris Jans long term. I like Mississippi State long term. This team is. If you hate college basketball and if you're an NBA person that's like I can't watch guys just clank shots and muck it up and put unwatchable basketball on my television, you point to these Mississippi State Bulldogs. So I know that Mississippi State's a better team. I know they're desperate. I know all of these things. I don't care. They don't deserve to win because they're just simply not fun to watch, and I don't want Brandon to be happy. So Florida wins that. Ole Miss, South Carolina. I like South Carolina. Shout out Michi Johnson. Shout out G.J. Jackson. They got some talent. They never really did much with it this year, but I think they can beat Ole Miss. LSU, Georgia. Georgia's been playing some decent basketball this year. I don't know what happened to LSU. I was kind of high on them. Not like they were going to win the league or anything, but like I certainly didn't think they were going to finish dead last, be the 14th seed in this thing. So that's a little bit of a bummer. But I think Georgia wins that game. Wait a second. I just did different rounds. I advanced Mississippi State. They play on Thursday. Dude, this is a mess. South Carolina, Tennessee. So I have Florida winning the first game on Thursday. It's going to be South Carolina, Tennessee. Tennessee's going to win that one. Arkansas, Auburn is going to be an awesome game. Absolutely awesome game. Arkansas has to at some point. I know Auburn's on the bubble. Arkansas, I think, like weirdly is not. I think Arkansas is in. And Auburn, I don't know. I'm not a bracketologist. I haven't made that clear already. Like I have to like look up who's on the bubble and who's not. I think Arkansas is like in better standing than Auburn is. So like Auburn needs this more, but I think Arkansas has so much talent and they haven't. We just keep waiting for like they have to win one of these games. They have to win one of these games. And I think Auburn now. Damn it, dude. I think Auburn beating Tennessee in their mind, they're now in. So I think Auburn relaxed their buttholes. Like they were like, all right, tight butthole going into the Tennessee game. We need a big win to secure NCAA tournament berth. They beat Tennessee. I think they were going to relax a little bit. Arkansas still has something to prove. I think Arkansas is going to win against Auburn. Vandy, Georgia. I like Vandy. Florida, Alabama. I like Bama, obviously. Missouri, Tennessee. I like Missouri. Now we're starting to get a little too chalky, though, TJ. Now I'm second-guessing. Texas A&M, Arkansas. Texas A&M is better. I think I'm just going to go chalk. I think I'm going to say semifinals. I think it's going to be chalk semifinals. I think it's 1-4, 3-2. Kentucky is going to beat Vanderbilt. And then I like Kentucky to bow out. I like Texas A&M to win. Give me Missouri in an upset over Alabama. I think Missouri has an awesome offense. I think Missouri, for all the problems, like I don't trust Missouri in the NCAA tournament. I don't trust I think Missouri is a good story more than they are a good team. And they're a good team, but I just think like the story is outweighing the team. And I think if Missouri was wearing Kentucky jerseys, I don't think that fan base would be so high on them. I think it's like Missouri fans are so beaten down that they're just looking for like the fact that they have a good team this year has made them think that their team is better than what it actually is. But I like Missouri in the upset because I think Missouri, that's a good matchup for Missouri. What happened when they played this year? Let me look that up.
Missouri fan in the office, first fan to complain about not enough talk on their team on this show so far. Jake Lisowski, one of our
there you
editors.
Go. They played one time. It was at Missouri, and Missouri lost by 24.
Jesus.
But they're both of these teams though are make shots teams, and to my point on that day, Alabama 10 for 35 from 3, which isn't even good. Missouri was 3 for 28 from the 3-point line in that game. They're not going to go 3 for 28 again. That's college basketball. I think they're going to give me an upset just so I'm not too chalky in the SEC here. And then it's going to be Missouri versus Texas A&M, and I like Texas A&M to win because we talked about it with Brandon. I don't think Kentucky wants to win this thing. I think A&M does, and A&M is going to beat Kentucky and then win the whole damn thing.
He seemed flabbergasted by that concept.
I
don't know why.
Because I really think he's a football guy, and in his mind, football teams can't afford to just like throw games. So to set up the bigger picture, because like the last game you'll play before the playoff and football is the conference championship or the rivalry game, and you would never obviously like throw it, or you would never like shrug your shoulders and say we don't care about that. But in basketball, it happens. I like it's not even my opinion. That's a statement of fact.
It
like,
happens.
As coaches, like they don't purposely lose the game. It's just like when they lose, they're not even a little bit mad. They're like, this is actually good for us.
It's like it's not the same, but similar as in the NFL. If you've already clinched the 1 seed or something, you're not going to care if you lose week 18.
Yes,
like,
it's not
these teams. It's not an arbitrary trophy, but unless you're fighting for seeding, like. Alabama doesn't care if they're a 1 seed or a 1 seed.
He's got college football brain. That's all it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the Big East real quick. I got Big East and Big Ten left, right? That's it?
Yes.
St. John's, Butler, as much as I want Butler to win, I don't think they're going to. St. John's is playing in their home arena. Butler cannot. Butler is among the most frustrating teams I've watched all season, and I've watched more Butler basketball than any national guy. I promise you that because of Coach Mata and Greg Oden on staff and John Diebler on staff. As they talked with Fanta, fire John Diebler if they lose this game, but they also will lose this game. So just fire John Diebler now and let's get it over with. St. John's will beat Butler. Seton Hall, DePaul. Come on, Seton Hall's gonna win. Villanova, Georgetown. Villanova's gonna win. I think the Big East, like John was trying to sway me into believing that we could get some shakeups and like Villanova can go on a run. As I told him, Villanova has a path, but also I'm a moron, and you could put the 96 Bulls and like the 2016 Warriors and like all these great the 86 Celtics in a Big East tournament bracket with Villanova, and I'd be like, Villanova has a path. I like Villanova's draw. So I'm gonna be rational about this and realize how stupid that is just to say that Villanova is gonna win just because they're Villanova. This is going to come back to bite me, I'm sure, but Creighton's a way better team than Villanova. So I actually think as a whole, the Big East is going to be pretty chalky to the semifinals. So give me Marquette, give me UConn, give me Xavier, give me Creighton. Whether I don't know if I do. Do I think that's what's going to happen, TJ, or is that what I want to happen? Because that is what I want to happen. If those 4 teams advance to the semifinals, Friday is going to be awesome to have Marquette versus UConn and Xavier versus Creighton. I think that's what I want to happen. I'm going to try to will it into existence. 1-4, 2-3, that's what I want. Then I think UConn beats Marquette. I think we get UConn versus Creighton in the final of this thing. And I'm with John. I'm going to ride with John on Creighton winning it. Because I think UConn, John didn't want to say this, but I felt like he was hinting at it. I think like the dirty little secret about UConn coming back to the Big East is like everyone in the conference is really happy about the buzz and the juice that it's brought to have UConn back in it, but nobody wants to see these assholes win anything. Yeah. Like it's not my words. I feel like that's how the rest of the Big East feels about UConn. It's like it's good to have you, like John kept saying, it's like a family. It's like, thanks for coming back, brother, but also like I do not want you to be happy, and I'm gonna make your life hell. Yeah. So I think like as we were saying with the ACC, like the funniest outcome is UConn marching to the final. They did this last year, right? Wasn't it UConn Villanova in the final last year? 2022 Big East tournament. Let me look that up. My memory's shot. I think
you got March brain.
No, Villanova UConn was in the semifinals, and Villanova won last year. Dude, Villanova won as an AC last year.
And then went to the Final Four?
No, I'm misreading that. I was gonna say there's no way Villanova was an AC. Like they were ranked. No, I'm reading it on
they were 4th.
They were 8th in the country. That's what the 8 was next to their name. I was like, they were the 2 seed. Yeah. They beat UConn in the semifinals. I remember they beat UConn last year. But I was at that game last year, and I remember UConn fans like having that like the aura about like they're like, we're back in the Garden. This is our shit. Like we own this place, and we're gonna. I think that would be funny if it was Creighton, UConn in the championship, and UConn fans like started counting their chickens before they hatched, and then Creighton won. So give me Creighton to beat UConn. Big Ten, who cares? Honestly, who cares? Nobody cares.
Yeah,
nobody cares.
True.
Nobody cares. It doesn't matter.
All the teams suck anyway. Who cares?
Ohio State's beating Wisconsin. In fact, not only do I think Ohio State's beating Wisconsin, I guarantee Ohio State will beat Wisconsin.
You use the G word?
I'm using the G word because I just like Wisconsin stinks. Ohio State is not a bad team. We just don't win.
Okay.
And I think what Chris Holtman has figured out that a lot of coaches around the country have not quite caught up to him yet is that winning is sometimes overrated. And I think
I'm with you.
So there's a belief in sports that sometimes you have to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. And guys have to you have to sit there with it. And you have to let it consume you, that you're losing. You're just stacking up all these losses. And I think Holt sees the bigger picture. I think he's I think all this losing is actually a good thing. I'm definitely not just trying to spin zone this. I think if we play the young guys and we look forward to the future, TJ, and we say, thank you, seniors, thank you, older dudes, thank you, for your service to this program, but we're riding with our freshmen, and you let Bryce Sensabaugh cook. Wisconsin, when it comes down to it, when this game gets ugly, Bryce Sensabaugh, do you trust Bryce Sensabaugh or Chucky Hepburn when you throw the ball to him and say, please go score? I trust Bryce Sensabaugh more than Chucky Hepburn. We're going to win. I guarantee it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We have to.
Should be fun.
Why did I just do that? Minnesota, Nebraska. Nebraska's going to win that game. Rutgers, Michigan. Michigan's going to win, TJ. We both know it, don't we?
I know.
No.
I know. It's going to suck. And we're going to play too close. And then Hunter Dickinson's going to dagger us with a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
And then I will be sad.
Ohio State, Iowa. I was at the game in Columbus when Ohio State and Iowa played, and we looked like the much better team on that day. Iowa, as we said with Ant, they're a make shots team. We'll know after the first 3 minutes what this game's going to look like. But Iowa is better than Ohio State, and I think that's when we bow out. We get our big win against Wisconsin, and then that's it. Penn State, Illinois is going to be a ton of fun. That is going to be chaos. Jalen Pickett's the best player on the floor, but Illinois is going to win. Illinois is going. I have an Illinois problem this year. I do. I love this team more than I should. It does not make any damn sense, but like I just love those pieces. I love Terrence Shannon. I love Coleman Hawkins. I love Matthew Meyer. I love that he said he's got caffeine poisoning. All of it's hilarious to me. I love Brad Underwood. I love they're just a chaotic mess, but I love them. And Penn State's good, and they're certainly capable. It's gonna be a fun game, but I think Illinois is gonna win. Nebraska Maryland is interesting because Nebraska's way better than really anyone realizes, except teams in the Big Ten that have lost to Nebraska.
Oh yeah.
If you've lost to Nebraska, you're like
in the last 2 months,
Yeah.
especially.
yeah, you're like, wait, I thought this team sucked. And maybe they do, but they're not.
They're a really good bad team.
Maryland stinks away from home. Like they got the bugaboo when they leave College Park. Like I don't know what's going on. They got to win one. Maryland's gonna beat Nebraska. Maryland has to beat Nebraska. Purdue, Michigan's gonna win. I mean, I know it, you know it. We all like Michigan. And then they're in. And at that point, they're in the NCAA tournament. I've
Yep.
seen this story before, both from a Purdue perspective, both in a Michigan perspective. Like it's. I've seen this movie. I know how it ends, and Michigan beats Purdue on Friday in the Big Ten tournament. Iowa, Michigan State. I think Michigan State is a team that I will, by the time Selection Sunday hits, I'm going to slowly be talking myself into Michigan State having a chance to. I don't know where the ceiling is for them though, but Ant and I talked about it a little bit, like they just being so guard dominant, and it's hard not to trust Izzo, and to some extent it's a meme, obviously, that like, you know, like Tom Izzo's lost to a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament before, so like if there's some sort of magic wizardry going on there, and he's so much better than everyone else in March, why did he lose to a 15 seed? Great point, but also like coaching does matter, and like the guy has proven over and over again that like he can figure out ways to win with teams that aren't quite as good. Long story short, I think Michigan State's going to beat Iowa because I think this Michigan State team is like setting up for something. I don't know what it is yet. I got to figure that out between now and Sunday. Illinois Northwestern. I want to talk myself into Northwestern going on a little bit of a run and having a little bit of fun, especially with it going on in Chicago. I don't think Illinois can let that happen. I think Illinois has to beat Northwestern. I think that's funnier to me. I'm just going back to the comedy of it all. Like I think Illinois beating Northwestern would be funny. And it's hard to explain why, but I think Chris Collins winning Coach of the Year over Matt Painter was absolutely egregious to me. I've been saying it, like Northwestern is a good team. Like they're fun. They're usually not this good, so everyone's excited about them. But like I think Illinois has more talent. I think that's ultimately going to matter, and I think Illinois is going to beat Northwestern. And then we got Maryland, Indiana. Give me Indiana. Yeah, give me Indiana. I think Indiana is Indiana's gonna. Yeah, give me Indiana. Okay, Indiana. I'm trying to think through. We got Michigan, Michigan State. We got Illinois, Indiana. Michigan's going to beat Michigan State. I think Indiana's going to beat Illinois. And then I think Michigan's going to beat Indiana in the championship, and Michigan's going to win this Big Ten tournament, because that's just like I've come to grips with the fact that that's what's happening. Michigan's going to win the Big Ten tournament. So there you go. Those are my conference tournament picks. Do not ask me to recite back to you a single pick that I just made, because that was absolute chaos in my brain for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Just 20 minutes of just insanity.
Whew. Those will all probably happen too. I'm sure you'll be right with those.
The good part about as we got going there, I was like, I should have just written these down and tweeted out the brackets, but not really, because it's harder to throw it back in my face when I'm wrong, because you have to go back through the insanity of me podcasting. and clip that up. Whereas a bracket, you could, or if I tweeted it out the graphic, you could, it'd be harder. It's harder for me to say fake news. Now, when you throw this back in my face, I'll just be like, dude, that was AI. That was like some sort of software with a fake voice.
Yeah.
All right, any shout outs, TJ, before we get out of here?
Sister Jean, we got a Sister Jean sighting.
Yeah, we did.
She's looking good.
We got to book her on the show. I would love to have her on.
Yeah.
What would be the first question if we had Sister Jean on the show?
So Kentucky, huh?
Yeah. How many units you putting on Kentucky?
Right, yeah. Give us a lock.
Give us your I want to shout out our intro music, TJ. I still haven't heard it, but good feedback from the people.
Really?
I had people telling me they liked it. I don't know.
I saw a lot of Rock America.
A lot of people were looking
up
up Rock America. They want it. The people want Rock America.
Yeah.
I do too. I might go. Did we look up, like, how far did we get in the process with Rock America?
Our rights and clearances people looked up who was owned by and saw it was Sony and was like, this is going to be $50,000 or something to get. So they were like, we'll probably not do that.
Yeah. Because I guess that was my question, is like, is there a price to it? Because, like, is there a way that we could...
There is a price. Basically,
do content to, like, somehow raise money. I don't want to do like a telethon. I'm not trying to do like a telethon for Rock America, but if there's a way, like, should I put like $500 on Ohio State to win the Big Ten tournament, and then that would probably be the payout would probably be like
I don't know how exactly that works. I think like so basically
like take the money and
the big thing people bring up is like, how does Part of My Take use Electric Avenue?
How do they do that?
I think that Electric Avenue is a very specific case where like the rights to the song was passed around like in wills and stuff like 3 or 4 times, and it's owned by like a singular person, and it's kind of like, let's see how many times we can use it without anybody saying anything, because like it's not owned by the big like music groups like Sony or UMG, so it's like on the rights holder to, this is really boring podcast material, but it's like
that's interesting. I find this fascinating.
I think that's the case. It's also like it's Part of My Take, so they'll like
they can
take different liberties with that. But
basically, when it comes down to it, Electric Avenue people are like proud that Part of My Take uses their song, whereas Danger Danger would be like,
Sony would be like,
who the fuck are you to think that you
Sony would instantly strike us within 1 second of us posting something.
But also at the same time, to Danger Danger, to the family of Danger Danger, to Sony,
yes.
To all of you that may be listening, allow me to do for you what I did for Warrant and Mr. Rainmaker, which was a song that nobody gave a single shit about, and they still don't, but like whatever little pocket of the internet I occupy, I got my video to get more views than their music video, TJ.
Yeah.
That counts for something.
Has to.
So, like, nobody, like, Warrant, that was just a throwaway song. I made a trick shot video to it. I'm not saying I broke the internet, but, like, we got, like, 600,000 views or something. That's pretty damn good for a college kid.
What year was that?
Like 2010.
That's a shitload of views in 2010.
That was a shitload of views. I could do the same thing for Danger Danger, because don't tell me that, like, people are like bumping Rock America before I came along and talked about it on this podcast.
Maybe we have to shoot some trick shots.
I have a big enough ego that I'm going to like, as we continue to talk about this song Rock America, by the end of the year I want to see like the Spotify stats.
Yeah.
And I'm going to personally claim like 35% of those plays.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, I got you 35% of those plays. Now let me use your song on my podcast and I'll get you even more plays.
Or somebody at home either knows Danger Danger,
or
knows how to use music production software and can make us a dupe or something.
Exactly.
Slide into the DMs and we'll figure out that deal.
Yeah, or maybe we have to wait for them to die. Is that? I don't want to root for that. We don't want that. We don't want that. But yeah. All right. My only other shout out: a lot of these small schools punching their tickets to. I saw Drake won the Missouri Valley. Kennesaw State was a fun story. They won the ASUN. It was a little bittersweet because I wanted Liberty. That Liberty team. I should clarify. I'm not a Liberty guy. Liberty is a school that is pretty not exactly popular to a lot of people with TJ for various reasons. That particular basketball team, though, with Darius McGee and the style of play that they had, I wanted to see what they could do in the NCAA tournament. I thought they would have been a ton of fun in like a 12-5 game. But also the Kennesaw State story. How do you get mad at that? You know, a team that won one game 3 years ago is now going to their first NCAA tournament. That's awesome. Who else? Fairleigh Dickinson was a team. They won the Northeast Conference, and Fairleigh Dickinson. I remember at the start of the season, they took Loyola Chicago to overtime, I think. And on my other show I used to do, I called Sister Jean a fraud because Loyola got taken to overtime by a shitty Fairleigh Dickinson team. And I remember there was a guy on Fairleigh Dickinson's staff who DM'd me and said, dude, we're not as bad as you think. And I laughed about it on the show. And I'll be damned, they're going to the NCAA tournament. So he was right all along.
Damn.
But he didn't say we're good. He was just like, yeah, we stink, but we're like we're not that bad. So there you go, Fairleigh Dickinson. But I wanted to shout out Furman more than anything else because I have a buddy that's a diehard Furman guy. And Furman, if you've been following them the last few years, they've just been snake bitten in the SoCon tournament. They cannot get over the hump no matter how good of a team they have. They go into the SoCon tournament. They find a way to choke it. Last year, Chattanooga hits the shot at the buzzer to knock him. Furman was the 1 seed, I believe, and Chattanooga knocks him out and goes on to the NCAA tournament. It's a rematch this year. Chattanooga's not even good. Furman is once again a 1 seed. And yeah, as I talked to Fanta about, like the whole time I'm watching that game, all anyone's talking about is, remember last year? The scars. The ghosts. Here they are. And Furman hung on and won, and that was cool. First NCAA tournament since 1980. So
Paladins.
that's cool. The Paladins, the Dins, as they say.
You mentioned Drake. Did you know that there's a player on Drake who's related to one of our guys here?
Oh, really?
Yeah, Connor Enright. His brother Kyle works in our booking and
no
live
shit?
events department. He'll be in,
all right. Well, let's ride with Drake.
Yeah.
God's plan, baby. Let's go Drake.
Louisville's up 2 with 15 minutes left.
All right, if Louisville wins,
We're deleting the episode.
all my bracket picks, not just in the ACC and every conference, they get voided and they don't count. None of them count. Did I guarantee Ohio State was going to beat Wisconsin?
You capital G guaranteed it. Watch the stream tonight if you're listening to this now.
I don't. Well, the problem is I guaranteed we would beat Iowa when I went to that game in Columbus. I got really confident, and I said I was going to save the program and I was going to inject championship DNA back into the program and all that sort of thing. And when you do something like that, TJ, it does become a little bit addicting, and you like want to chase that high again because it worked. Like I made that guarantee, and then I got on a plane to go to Ohio, and like I'm boarding the plane thinking, why did I do that? Like I have no control over what's going to happen in this game. And we had lost 5 in a row at that point, and I was like, that was maybe really stupid of me because I have no out. Like if we would have lost to Iowa, I don't know what I would have done. But it just becomes addicting. I don't know because like when they win, you're like, I if it's that easy, why don't I just guarantee we win more often?
I did it last year when we played Clemson after losing to Lafayette.
Yeah.
We won. So I felt like I did something. I did my part.
Fuck it. I'm guaranteeing. You know what? I'll guarantee this. Butler and Ohio State both play on Wednesday. One of those two teams will win. I'm going to the Butler game against St. John's across the street here, and then I'm going to come back over here for the live stream. I just want to go 1-1 in one of those. So one of those teams. I'll guarantee that. That'll definitely happen. And if it doesn't, fire John Bieber. That's the show. Enjoy conference tournaments, everybody. We'll see you guys Friday.